Fit to Plead by James Fairfax with Judy Bennett and Paul Chapman. Peatfield is a seemingly quiet and peaceful textile town in the Pennines. An image that is shattered, however, by a brutal murder and the discovery that witchcraft is being practiced.
Judy Bennett as Sally Clough in Fit to Plead by James Fairfax.
Peatfield 89651, Henry Tolley speaking.
Ah, Mr. Tolley. Detective Chief Inspector Elvington here. I'm sorry to disturb you.
What is it, Inspector? It's 2:30 in the morning.
Well, I've been trying to get the vicar, so I thought as you're his curate, I'd
You've rung the vicarage?
Yes, there's no reply.
Well, that's odd.
I must be away.
Mr. Granger didn't say anything. What is it, Inspector?
A member of the public's just rung. Somebody's playing the organ in Peatfield Parish Church.
The organ at this hour?
The lights aren't on, but there are some people inside.
You don't think vandalism?
It's one possibility.
With the church being so isolated...
I thought it might be some sort of organ practice.
No, not at this hour.
I'll go out there right away, Mr. Tolley. Can you meet me there?
I can be there in 10 minutes, Chief Inspector. Chief Inspector Elvington.
Ah, sorry I had to send for you, Mr. Tolley.
Who can they be, these people in the church?
It's not easy to see through the stained glass, even with a full moon.
Oh, they're holding candles.
Yeah, and they're dressed in white.
What have they got in their faces?
They look like hoods.
Are there any vehicles around?
I haven't had time to check properly, only just got here myself. All the doors are locked.
They must have keys. Unless they've forced a window.
No sign of that, I've checked.
Look, one of them's taking his robes off.
Eh? Aye. And he's lying in front of the altar.
This is witchcraft.
Hey, it's a woman.
Desecration.
Oh, they're standing over her.
They're holding hands. What are these people going to do, Inspector?
That's what we have to find out, Mr. Tolley.
How?
By going inside.
I should have brought my keys.
We'll have to knock on the door and see what happens.
But do you think... do you think they'll be violent?
Oh, I doubt it.
I'm not a violent man.
Neither am I, unless I have to be. Here goes, then. Open this door. This is the police. Open the door.
They're running for it.
I'll go down to the back. Will you stay here, Mr. Tolley?
No, I'll come with you. You may need help.
There's about a dozen of them.
What do you intend to do?
Ask them some questions.
This may be routine to you, Inspector, but for me
It's new to me, too. They don't teach witchcraft at police college.
A van! They're going to get away!
Damn! No hope of getting the number.
Are you going to follow them, Inspector?
Well, I don't even know if they've committed an offence yet. Trespassing a church isn't a crime. Ah, that's the door they got out by. It was locked when I tried it.
The key was never left in the lock.
No, it isn't in now either. Let's take a look inside.
I'll put the lights on, Inspector. The switch is just over here.
I'll shine the torch.
Oh, thank you. Here it is.
Well, that's better. Now we can see what we're doing.
Well, the candles are lit on the altar, but they aren't our candles.
Oh, they're black. Black candles.
And what's that on the altar? It looks like a skull.
It is a skull. Hey, there's some drawing on the altar cloth. Been done with a felt pen. A circle.
And inside the circle is a 5-pointed star. That's the traditional symbol of witchcraft.
You know about witchcraft, do you, Mr. Tolley?
It goes back to the Stone Age. It's taken different forms over the centuries, but it's always been associated with perversion.
Perversion, eh?
Perversion of religion by worshipping the devil. Perversion of holy ceremony by performing the Black Mass. Perversion of sex in various degrading ways. To find it here, a quiet textile town, it's unthinkable.
You see, Mr. Tully, I've lived here all my life. Nothing's unthinkable in Peatfield when you know it as well as I do. Oh, it might look quiet and peaceful on the surface.
But such evil.
Well, life is very boring for a lot of people. Dull, flat. All these black stone buildings, the row of back-to-backs, the mists. The sort of thing they've been doing in here tonight. It obviously gives them a kick.
Oh, here's one of those robes.
Aye, the lady hadn't time to get dressed.
It's in two parts, a sort of hood with eye holes to cover the face.
That underneath part's made out of a sheet.
So degrading.
I'd better take possession of all these objects and pursue my inquiries.
Now look, Miss Luff, I tell you it is not possible.
Clough, Dr. Phoebe. My name is Clough, Sally Clough.
It is impossible for you to see Mr. Stanton. He is in this hospital because he is a very sick man.
I have a duty as a probation officer.
I also have a duty, Miss Clough. Roger Stanton is my patient in my hospital.
How long have you lived in England, Doctor?
Many years.
The court has to have a report. I don't know if you're aware of the system.
I am aware of the necessity to cure the minds of my patients.
The judge always has to have a social inquiry report before he sentences the accused.
There will, however, be no sentence for Mr. Stanton.
If he's found guilty of killing his wife, there's bound to be.
Before a man can be found guilty, he must first be fit to plead. If his mind is so disturbed that he will not understand the proceedings, he is unfit to plead. In such a case, he is not even asked to say if he is guilty or not guilty.
If he's unfit to plead, he'll be detained indefinitely.
In Broadmoor.
But Doctor, suppose he wants to deny it.
Deny what?
That he battered his wife to death with a poker.
If he is unfit to plead, there is no further trial. The law does not allow it. Not even when the accused is a solicitor, like Mr. Stanton.
I have been told to do a report.
I shall send to the judge a very detailed report on Mr. Stanton's condition. And there will be a report also from my friend, Dr. Clarendon.
The prison doctor, yes. But the judge will also
It was
want...
the judge who ordered that Mr. Stanton shall come to my hospital. It was a condition of his bail.
At least I ought to see Mr. Stanton.
What is the purpose of looking at a very sick young man?
Well, I should know that he is actually here.
And what do you think I have done with my patient?
What treatment is he getting?
Peaceful surroundings and the necessary drugs for his condition.
What is his condition, Doctor?
You shall see my report.
I'm sorry to be so persistent.
I'm also sorry about that.
In my job, I have to be persistent.
You are a very young woman, Miss Clough. You are not more than, 25 years?
You a mind reader, Dr. Phoebe?
Mind healer, Miss Clough. And it is my intention to heal this patient's mind, if that is possible.
It may not be.
So many questions from such a young woman. Perhaps I may also ask a question. How long have you been a probation officer?
Nearly a year.
That is a very short time. But you are yet so strong.
Life has made me strong.
Tell me about that, Miss Clough.
Does it matter?
If you answer my question, I will answer your question.
All right. When I was 16, my parents were killed in a car crash. So I left school and became a shorthand typist for a couple of years. Then I went to Australia, and then New Zealand, and worked my way around till I'd seen all there was to see.
All?
Enough. When I was 21, I came back to England, started studying again, and here I am. But I don't need psychoanalyzing.
Many persons who say that are not correct.
Dr. Phoebe, what is Mr. Stanton suffering from?
He is deeply depressed, and we believe that he has a schizoid condition.
Schizoid? Can that come on suddenly?
Sometimes.
I don't know Mr. Stanton very well, but I've seen him in action in the magistrate's court, and I've given evidence in some of his cases. I remember the very first time. He must have realised I'd never given evidence before, and he led me through it very considerately. He's a very kind man.
Many of my patients are kind persons.
He was brilliant. He did more criminal cases than any solicitor for miles around, Schizoid means a split mind, doesn't it?
An acceptable definition.
How does he show it?
Roger Stanton is grossly deluded.
What are these delusions, Doctor?
Professional confidence. But the delusions are completely fanciful and of a most sensational nature.
There's something that disturbs me about this case, Doctor. In my job, I see a fair number of prisoners. Yesterday, one of them told me he'd had a tip-off, on the grapevine, that Roger Stanton had been framed.
You should inform Mr. Stanton's solicitor.
I have. I rang him this morning, Martin Hensley. He's Mr. Stanton's senior partner. He didn't seem interested.
Should he be interested in such a rumour, Miss Clough?
You're not going to let me see your patient, are you?
Correct.
So I shall have to report all this to Miss Bordle. She's my boss.
Fortunately, I do not have any boss. This is a private hospital. I am the owner, and the decisions are made by myself only. I can think only of what is good for my patients.
We are all responsible to others, Dr. Fiebig. No man is an island. Not even the owner of a mental hospital.
And how are you feeling now, Mr. Stanton? Can you hear me? I ask you, how are you feeling?
I don't feel very well.
Try to relax, Mr. Stanton.
You keep telling me that, Doctor.
You will soon receive another injection, and that will help you.
Not another injection. They make me... They make me so I can't think properly. I can't see properly. My eyes go blurred. Let me try without the injection.
Yeah, in order to cure you, Mr. Stanton.
Let me just have the pills. Let me try.
They are all working very hard for you.
Why does nobody ever come to see me?
You have to rest.
But just for a few minutes.
What can I do if your friends do not come?
Can you get a message to my partner, Martin Hensley? He's defending me. I want to talk to him about my case.
That is not necessary, Mr. Stanton. Please do not think about it.
I can't have killed Margaret. I liked her. Loved her. We had arguments, but... How can I have bashed her head in?
No, Mr. Stanton. You must not think about that.
Blood everywhere, they say. On my hands, my clothes... My fingerprints on the poker. How can I have done all that to Margaret?
You must try to forget about it, Mr. Stanton.
Elvington, he's the one. He's the one who did it. It was Elvington. He did it and made it look as if it was me. He wanted to get me put away.
Please, Mr. Stanton, please.
I want to tell Martin all about Elvington.
Rest, Mr. Stanton. You must have rest if you are to become well again.
Another coffee, Sally?
No, thank you, Miss Bordle.
Well, you were quite right to come and tell me.
I had to go straight to the top.
I'm not sure you did right before you came. There are procedures, Sally. There are proper paths. The most direct path may not be the best path. It may lead you through a minefield. You knew that Roger Stanton had a solicitor acting for him, and you should have obtained his permission before you went anywhere near that hospital.
When I phoned Martin Hensley about the tip-off, he didn't want to know. I don't think he's very bright. I've watched him in court a few times. Oh, he's polished, but not bright.
Well, whatever you think about Mr. Hensley, he is Stanton's solicitor. You should have gone to him first. If he said no, you could have said so in your report. Nobody could have blamed you.
Avoiding blame isn't the only object in life.
Of course it isn't.
Roger Stanton's been caught in some kind of trap.
You can't believe every tip-off, Sally.
He's helpless lying there. To get locked away for life. I think that's what Dr. Fiebig wants, so that he can shut Stanton's mouth. And I wouldn't be surprised if Martin Hensley wants the same.
But think a moment. Why should either of them want to shut Stanton's mouth, as you call it?
I don't know yet, but I'm sure that's what they're doing.
Sally, this is dangerous talk, loose talk, irresponsible. Now, you've done very well since you came to us. Don't spoil it all by too much emotion. You must never get involved with your clients. You must remain detached.
Can I in a case like this, Miss Border?
Go and see Mr. Hensley and try to do everything according to the book. You'll find it's the quickest way in the end.
I'm sorry if it's an inconvenient time, Mr. Hensley.
I was playing snooker. Always do after lunch. That's what this club's for, Miss Clough.
I rang you yesterday about that tip-off.
How could I forget it?
And this morning I've been to the hospital.
Yes, I know. I was very cross when they told me.
You know?
Small place, Peatfield. Tight little place. Everybody knows what's going on. You should have come to see me before you went to Phoebix Hospital, you know.
I apologise.
Either I'm representing Roger or I'm not.
I want to do the best I can for Mr. Stanton.
So do I. So do we all. But you just leave all that to me. Social inquiry report, that wouldn't do any good at all. Not in Roger Stanton's case. There's nothing anybody can do for Roger Stanton. And I wish there were. Despite what he's done to me.
Tell me about that, Mr. Hensley.
Tell you what.
About Roger Stanton. I need all the background I can get.
Well, I took Roger into my firm when he was 18 because I knew his father. He was a foreman at Bellersley's. I did his conveyance, you know, when he moved house.
Was Roger at the local grammar school?
One of the best they ever turned out. I was very glad to have him. I said he could build up the court work side. Never appealed to me much, court work. But my God, he did build it up. Oh, yes, turnover up every year. Everything in the garden was perfect. And then this business. As you'll know, it's been in all the papers, on the TV, the lot. What you won't know is what it's done to my practice. Clients can forgive a solicitor a lot, Miss Clough, but to murder his own wife, like that, takes a bit of swallowing, leaves a nasty taste behind.
You don't want any more publicity, do you?
It's hitting my practice.
Would you prefer Mr. Stanton to be found unfit to plead?
Exactly what are you inferring, Miss Clough?
I want your permission to go and see Roger Stanton.
I really can't see the point.
I'd still like to see him.
There'll be 2 medical reports.
Dr. Phoebix's been talking to you, hasn't he?
I do talk to my clients, Doctor, from time to time, yes. You'd criticize me if I didn't.
It is a tight little town, Mr. Hensley. You were right. I've never realised just how tight it is. Almost incestuous.
There's no need to be rude.
But, Mr. Hensley, just let me tell you this. The more that the people of this town try to close doors to me, the more I shall kick at them.
At the people?
No, at the doors. I'm going to do what I can for that man.
Now listen, young woman. Just who do you think you're talking to like this?
Since you ask me, Mr. Hensley, to a somewhat complacent solicitor, to say the least, with all due respect.
Seems to me, Miss Clough, that you haven't any respect at all.
Oh, I have, for things that deserve respect.
I'm going back to my snooker.
You can spare me another 5 minutes. I want to know more about Margaret Stanton, the victim.
Oh, yes? Well, I didn't know her all that well. Met her at a few social functions. She was German, you know.
Really? Did Dr. Phoebix know her?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Did you like Margaret?
Now, what's that got to do with it?
It helps me form a picture.
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't. You're going to ask me why? Well, don't bother. She wasn't my type, I suppose. Now, you're going to ask me what my type is, aren't you? Well, I haven't really got one, or I wouldn't be a bachelor. A bit blousy, if you ask me. Blousy. Thick lips. Big earrings. Lots of bosom, showing most of it. Could have been a barmaid. Not to put too fine a point on it, she was a bit of a tart.
Was there any scandal about her?
People used to say things about her. Don't ask me what, I don't really know. Maybe they were prejudiced against her because she was German. Patriotic little place, Peatfield.
How can we prove that Mr. Stanton is fit to plead?
Well, now, suppose he is fit. Where does that get us? If you've read those statements, it's all nail on, you know. Either way, he's inside for years and years, and Broadmoor's a lot better place than Dartmoor.
To prove he is fit to plead, what evidence would we need?
Medical evidence. But his own doctor's against him. So is the other side's doctor, Clarendon.
I don't intend to give up, Mr. Hensley. Believe me.
Goodbye, my dear. I'm so glad you called. Smithson?
Sir?
You got a phone book there?
Certainly, sir.
I want to make a call, Smithson, to the Chief Probation Officer, Miss Bordall. Ah, Miss Clough. So it's you.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Crowley.
Sorry to be so out of breath.
I've been teaching the lads the noble art of boxing.
They told me you were here when I rang the surgery.
Oh, let's sit down then and tell me all about it.
Thanks. I've been getting myself into trouble, Doctor. Professional trouble.
Oh, how can I help, my dear?
You know this murder case, Roger Stanton?
Oh, doesn't everybody in Peatfield? They talk of nothing else when they pour into my surgery, like cattle market day in Ballygooley.
Well, I've been asked to do a social inquiry report on Stanton. But I've been to Dr. Phoebic's hospital, and Phoebic won't even let me see him.
Old bullet head. He wouldn't.
Is that what they call him?
I do.
What's wrong with him?
Oh, he means well, but he likes trying offbeat ideas on his patients.
He says Stanton's unfit to plead, and so does Dr. Clarendon.
Old Clary wouldn't know much about it. He'd look at Phoebic's report, ask Stanton his name, tell him to touch his toes, and then write out Phoebic's report again in his own words. Charming fellow, but one thing Clary cannot tolerate is work.
Oh, it gets worse all the time.
Wish I could help.
Do you know Roger Stanton?
I've seen him at the squash club, but I doubt if I've ever said to him more than, "This Shah's bloody hot," which it always is. He's a damn fine squash player. He was.
Would you say he's a schizoid?
Schizoid? Roger Stanton? Never. But I haven't seen him since since the murder. Whoever did it. It certainly wasn't an accident.
Stanton should at least have the chance to fight the case. But that means finding a doctor who says he is fit to plead.
Shouldn't Martin Hensley be doing all this?
Hensley's as unhelpful as Phoebe. If you take the same attitude, I shall think it's me at fault.
Odd you should say that, Miss Clough, because I can't help you.
Oh, this is all I needed.
Stanton can't be moved from Phoebic's place without a court order.
For which I need medical evidence.
Which I can't give you because he isn't my patient. And Phoebic wouldn't let me cross the threshold. You know, Miss Clough, after careful diagnosis, it's my considered opinion that here we have an interesting case of cleft sticitis.
Is there nothing we can do?
Well, there is one possibility. And not that I'm advising you to take it, Miss Clough. You'd probably be in contempt of court, and that could mean trouble for both of us. So if ever you say I put the idea into your head, I'll deny it before all the angels in heaven.
Tell me, Dr. Crowley, please.
If Roger Stanton were to... how shall I put it? To decide to walk out of that hospital and happen to find his way into my surgery and said he felt ill and asked me to examine him, I'd be bound to do so. And if I found him mentally fit, well, I'd have to be honest about it.
Oh, I can see daylight at last.
Don't blame me if you go to prison.
Do people go to prison for trying to help other people?
Yes.
Well, thank you for your help, Dr. Crowley.
Oh, I've done nothing except give you highly dangerous advice.
Oh, one more thing. Is there anything you can tell me about Margaret Stanton? If Roger didn't kill her, we've got to find out who did, and that means motives.
One of my women patients did give me a bit of gossip not long before Margaret Stanton died. Oh, I'm sure it's a load of old bull.
What was it?
You remember that night some people were found in the parish church and left that skull and all that?
Very well indeed.
Well, it was about a couple of months ago, I suppose, a week or two before the murder. Well, this patient of mine said they were a witch's coven. That's the word for it, isn't it?
Yes.
Local people. All of them, she said. And according to her, the priestess of this coven was none other than Margaret Stanton.
Hensley, Stanton and Company. Martin Hensley speaking.
Sally Clough here, Mr. Hensley.
Oh.
I've found a doctor who's prepared to examine Mr. Stanton, if only we can get him out of hospital.
And how do we do that?
Could we apply to the judge, do you think?
Not without evidence. You'd need somebody who could say from his own knowledge that Roger ought to leave there.
I don't know anyone who's seen him in hospital, except the doctors and you.
If you saw him yourself, you'd soon change your attitude.
I accept the challenge.
Miss Clough, have you no other clients to attend to? If you haven't, I have. Goodbye, and please don't trouble me again.
Now there's no alternative. I've got to do it.
Mr. Stanton, I am here in order to give you a new treatment.
No, please, Doctor, not another injection. I don't need it.
I am the doctor and you are the patient, Mr. Stanton.
I've been feeling better. It's been coming back after the concussion or whatever it was. I have to be able to prove it wasn't me, that I didn't kill Margaret, that it was somebody else. Elvington, he's the one.
Delusions, Mr. Stanton.
They're not delusions.
And you may not remember, but 2 days ago you told me your wife was a witch.
She was. She admitted it, and we had that terrific argument.
And then you killed her?
No, I didn't kill her. She wasn't killed till the next day. I got home, and there she was, lying there. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Will nobody believe me? Will nobody help me? Why will nobody help me? Martin. Where's Martin Hensley?
Mr. Hensley is paying for you to stay here.
Oh.
That is important help for you.
He should be seeing Elvington. That's what he should be doing.
Dr. Phoebe speaking.
Miss Sally Clough is here to see you, Doctor. She's in reception.
Oh, Himmel. Yes, I will come and speak to her. In my office. Excuse me for a few minutes, Mr. Stanton. I have to inform you, Miss Clough, that at last my patience is exhausted.
You talk about your patience, Doctor. I've been having a somewhat trying time, too. So I've decided that if you don't let me see Roger Stanton now, I shall go to the judge tomorrow and tell him the whole story and ask him to transfer Mr. Stanton to another hospital. If you throw me out, it will strengthen my case.
You are threatening me, I think.
I'm sure I am. I've tried reasoning and pleading, and I'm moving on to threatening, yes.
What is your real interest in this case, Miss Clough? Roger Stanton is not a friend to you.
He's a client.
And do you do all this for every client?
I've never had such obstruction before.
In some ways, Miss Clough, I admire you. You have spirit.
Oh, thank you for the concession, Doctor. And now you can take me to Roger Stanton's room.
There is no problem, Miss Clough.
I must see him alone.
There's no objection to that. No objection at all.
I remember you. Yes, I do remember you now, Miss Clough.
You were very kind to me, Mr. Stanton.
Was I? It's very good to see you. It's good to see anyone. No one's been near for days and days.
Phoebe says you're suffering from a schizoid condition.
Schizoid? How do I know if I've got that? Isn't one of the symptoms of being a schizoid that you don't know you are one?
The immediate problem is to prove you're not. Then we can get you tried. Then we have to prove you're innocent.
No. Oh, it's for the prosecution to prove I'm guilty, beyond reasonable doubt.
You're no schizoid, Mr. Stanton. I have a doctor lined up to examine you as soon as you can get out of here.
How do I get out?
Through that window. It's the only way. It'll have to be at night.
Oh, I'm so confused. Phoebe's been giving me drugs.
Roger, who did murder your wife?
I can't prove it, but I'm sure Detective Chief Inspector Elvington is behind it all. He had it in for me. I was defending in a corruption case that's coming up, and I was trying to get proof that he'd invented some evidence. Elvington is bent, you know. Ask any prisoner he's given evidence against, they all say the same.
What can you remember about the murder?
There was this big argument with Margaret the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I'd seen her go to the phone, look up a number in her diary, and then speak to someone about that business in the church, the witchcraft thing. She was obviously there when it happened.
You never suspected anything like that?
Oh, it was a hell of a shock. And so we had this argument, the neighbours heard, and things got thrown and broken. And the next evening, when I got home, I found Margaret in the living room, and there was blood everywhere. And then everything went blank, and the next thing I remember is being in hospital and Elvington was asking me questions. Whoever killed Margaret must have been hiding and attacked me from behind, knocked me out, and then made it look as if I'd killed her. The police say I got hit on the head in the struggle with Margaret, but there was no struggle.
How can you prove that Elvington's involved?
I think the secret lies in that diary. There's a telephone number, and I think it's Elvington's.
Who has the diary?
Guess.
Not...
Yes. He's in charge of the case.
The diary isn't referred to in the prosecution statements. There isn't even a reference to witchcraft.
Elvington wouldn't want it, would he?
Did you tell the police about Margaret's phone call?
I couldn't remember that part then. I've had a lot of time to think while I've been in here.
I don't see why Elvington should kill your wife and frame you for it, even if you were going to expose him in the corruption case.
If he didn't do it, he's shielding the man who did.
Or the woman.
Well, yes.
Elvington says you admitted killing Margaret when he interviewed you.
Putting on the verbals. It's the oldest trick in the Crooked Copper's book. Elvington does it in case after case.
He just invents things that have never been said.
What can be easier? When the accused doesn't have to sign anything.
Roger, do you trust your partner?
Martin? Oh, yes, of course. I owe everything to Martin.
He isn't burning with enthusiasm about your case.
He's a bit vague sometimes, is Martin. But he gets there in the end.
He seems to accept that you've gone completely, well, round the bend. But you're every bit as sane as I am. Well, I think I'm still sane.
Well, when I first came in here, I was a bit off it, I admit. Everything seems so hopeless. To lose Margaret and get accused of doing it. And everything seemed to point against me. I don't blame Martin for drawing the wrong conclusions.
I expect Phoebic's taken your clothes away.
Burnt them, I shouldn't wonder.
Does your watch keep good time?
My what? Yes, perfect.
Yes, it agrees with mine. Don't let Phoebic give you any more pills today. Pretend to swallow them, but keep them on your tongue. I want Dr. Crowley to see them. And I want you wide awake when I come to this window at 3 o'clock. That's in just under 10 hours from now. I shall tap on the window. Open the top part, and I'll hand some clothes through.
Well, how will you get them? The police have the keys to my house.
I'll borrow some from social services. They won't be Savile Row.
Anything to get out of here.
Then you can undo the latch, and we'll slide the lower part up. And out you jump. My car will be just outside the gates, ready to race you to Dr. Crowley.
This is like a commando exercise.
Can you say any other way?
I'm not objecting.
Right. I'll be outside your window at 3 o'clock sharp, then. And do not go to sleep. Sally Clough speaking.
Mary Bordle here, Sally.
Oh, hello, Miss Bordle.
Sally, I know it's nearly 9 o'clock, but I must see you. It's very urgent.
Tonight?
Yes.
Oh, can't it wait till tomorrow?
I think not.
Well, all right, yes. But where?
Could you possibly come round to my flat now?
Well, yes, if it's urgent. I'll be there in about 10 minutes.
I've been so very worried about you, Sally.
About me?
I'd hoped I'd made myself clear when I saw you this morning. I told you not to take any further step in this wretched Roger Stanton business without getting Mr. Hensley's permission.
I don't know why you say wretched Roger Stanton. And anyway, helping wretched people is what the probation service is all about.
I've been in it for 24 years and I don't need any lectures. You went to the hospital again this evening?
Yes, Miss Bordle, I did.
And saw Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
I couldn't believe it when I heard.
News couldn't travel faster with drums in the jungle.
This is serious, Sally.
Believe me, Miss Bordle, I was never involved in anything more serious in my life.
I have decided to withdraw you from the Stanton case. I shall attend to it myself. You must also give me an undertaking now that you'll take no further action of any kind by contacting Dr. Phoebic or Stanton or Mr. Hensley or anyone else.
And if I refuse?
I like you, Sally. You've done extremely well since you came to us. Your capacity for work is, well, beyond criticism. But it has to be applied properly.
If I refuse to give you the undertaking?
Orders have to be obeyed, Sally. We're not a military force. I hope the discipline is reasonably informal. I never stand over my probation officers in normal circumstances. But orders
You are standing over me now.
For the good of the service.
I'm thinking of the good of a man who's caught in the most cruel trap. He needs my help. My instinct is to give it. Can that be wrong, Miss Bordle?
Your instinct isn't wrong, of course it isn't. But we cannot always do what our instincts tell us now, can we? That way lies all the human wretchedness that you and I deal with every day of our lives. Prisons are full of people who only know how to obey their instincts.
So, if I refuse the undertaking and continue to help Roger Stanton?
You will be suspended until the probation committee have considered the matter.
Well, that's plain.
Do try to see my point of view, Sally. Don't throw your career away.
Miss Bordle, do you think Roger Stanton did kill his wife?
That has nothing whatever to do with either you or me. It's for the court to decide, not the probation service.
There is evidence that his wife was a witch.
A what?
A witch, so-called.
What evidence?
Roger's wife had a diary.
Roger's wife?
This diary probably has a telephone number that could lead us to these witch people, and the one who killed her.
My dear Sally, you're living in fairyland.
I'm going on with this, Miss Bordle.
Yeah, I've done everything I can to help you, Sally.
Whatever happens, nobody's going to blame you.
Think again, please, before you burn your boats.
I'm sorry, Miss Bordle. Good night.
One does one's best. One does one's level best for people. Come on.
Councillor Sugden here.
Councillor, this is Mary Bordle.
Oh, hello, my dear.
Sorry to trouble you at this hour.
We public men are always on duty. That's what I always say.
With the chairman of the probation committee being ill.
Miss Stevenson,
I
yes.
thought I'd better have a word with you, Councillor Sugden. I'm having problems with one of my young officers, Sally Clough.
Oh, I remember her. Bright little thing. What you been up to?
Well, Sally's being very foolish. I wonder if you could have a word with her. She might take more notice of you.
Anything to help, my dear. Tell me all about it, and I'll have a word with pleasure.
Well, it's rather urgent, but the position is this. You see, it started when I put her onto the Roger Stanton.
Well, I don't usually go calling on young women at 10 o'clock at night.
If it's official business, Councillor Sugden.
Of course it is, Miss Clough.
No need to apologise for that.
No. Well, you see, my dear, you'll know what it's about. Miss Bordle has been on to me.
Then I do know what it's about.
Yeah, I remember when we appointed you, Miss Clough. When you came for the interview. Got a future, that one, I said. No doubt I was going to get the job as soon as you'd been in. And we get reports, you know. Oh, yes, the committee keep an eye on things. And I've been right about you. Up to now.
This all began because I was carrying out my orders to do a social inquiry report.
Your orders have been changed.
If you knew all about it, Councillor Sugden...
I know enough. I want you to listen to my advice, young lady. I'm a bit more experienced than you.
And a lot more important.
I didn't say that.
They say you own half Peakfield.
That's an exaggeration.
Builder, property owner, magistrate, councillor. Oh, you're a powerful man.
Anything I've got, I've worked for. I didn't have no education, 3 hours, and that's about all. But I've worked hard. Oh, I've done all right, yes, but I've tried to do my bit for the town as well. And I don't like to see a young woman like you making a mess of things.
I'm not treading on your toes.
You've upset Mary Bordle. There's a good woman, that. Known her over 20 years. Done a lot for the folk in Peatfield. And Dr. Feebig. You're upsetting him. Now, I know some folk don't like him.
I'm one of them.
Well, he's done a lot more for people than you'd ever imagine. I should know. My poor old mam, she's 92. And Feebig's looked after her for the past 8 years. He understands people like that.
I'm trying to help Roger Stanton.
He's got other folk looking after him. He doesn't need you.
We shall see. But it's no use wasting any more of your valuable time, Councillor Sugden. My mind is made up.
Hello, Miss Clough. 4-star, yours, isn't it?
I'm okay for petrol, Charlie. Do you still have a mechanic on duty?
Not at 11:30 at night. Can I do anything?
There's definitely something wrong with Moppet. Carburettor or plugs or points or petrol or something.
Now, first tell me what it's doing wrong, dear.
Well, she's difficult to start, especially when she's warm. And I've got rather an important job to do tonight.
Rolling another bank, are we?
Not exactly.
Get away, car, eh? I should make a better one if I were you. Begging your pardon. We're robbing a bank in an MG Midget.
I've got to help a client.
And Jay registered at that.
Don't be so rude about Moppet.
Pull her across to the service bay, Miss Clough, and I'll have a look. Things I'd do for you, me darling.
And I love you for it, Charlie. You know I do.
There's no need to apologise, Miss Bordall. It's good to see you again. Things can get a bit lonely in here at midnight.
Well, I was glad you happened to be on duty, Mr. Elvington. There's a very worrying matter. It concerns the Roger Stanton case.
Oh, yes.
One of my junior officers was asked to prepare the social inquiry report.
I thought so.
You know about this?
Miss Sally Clough.
What do you know about it?
She's quite dishy, isn't she?
Quite what, Chief Inspector?
I mean, she's a very nice young woman. She's very likeable. But she's been upsetting people, poking her nose in a bit too far.
So you've heard.
That's part of my job, Miss Bordall. To keep me here as close to the ground as I possibly can without actually falling on my face.
I have heard it suggested that the murdered woman in the case...
Margaret Stanton.
Yes, that she was involved in witchcraft.
Well, she was.
Oh?
Well, there are definite pointers. She was in on that moonlight mumbo-jumbo in the church.
Have you evidence?
Wouldn't stand up in court. But people tell you things, you get hints, you pick up traces here and there. We've reason to think there's some very prominent people in Peakfield are mixed up in this witchcraft thing. But the closer you get to the centre, the harder it is to get the facts. They sew their lips together. There's a conspiracy of silence. Well, as you'd expect. It's not the sort of thing people want splashing about, especially when one of them's been murdered.
Do you know who any of the other witch people are?
3 of them.
That's a long way to go.
Yeah, it's not all that important. The witch thing's got nothing to do with the murder, that's my opinion. So why should I embarrass a lot of my fellow Peakfielders for nothing?
Well, that's considerate.
I was sorry in a way. I couldn't press on with it. Fascinating. There was a particular word that kept cropping up.
A word?
A sort of password as far as I could gather.
What is the word?
Angelica.
Angelica? What does it mean?
My guess is it's a way of letting another person know you're in the Brotherhood.
Or sisterhood?
It's got both sexes in it, oh yes.
Mr. Elvington, are you quite sure that Roger Stanton is guilty?
Open and shut. Argument, fingerprints, blood all over his clothes, confession. What more could a jury want?
I'm relieved to hear it.
The only slight doubt I had at one time was about, well...
About what, Inspector?
Well, there was a fingerprint on one of the deceased's earrings that we couldn't eliminate. It isn't hers, or Stanton's, or anybody's in the shop where she bought it. We don't know whose it is.
Do the defence know about this?
This negative evidence doesn't lead anywhere. Of course, we shall tell them if they ask a specific question. Well, there's no point in handing them things they can twist and make a meal out of. Stanton used to be very good at that.
Who has the dead woman's diary?
I have. It's in my safe over there.
May I see it?
Why, Miss Bordall?
Well, I'm having disciplinary problems with Sally Clough. She's made certain allegations, and I want to be fair to her and to Stanton.
Well, the diary isn't relevant.
Then there can't be any harm in my seeing it.
I haven't the authority.
Who has?
The Director of Public Prosecutions, but he might leave it to the judge to decide.
Which makes it difficult.
Regulations. We all have regulations, don't we?
Oh, yes. One last matter, Chief Inspector. That corruption case that's coming up, the planning officer...
Arnold Fielder.
Roger Stanton was defending...
His partner's taken over, Martin Ensley.
Is that good news for you?
I'd rather have Ensley defending.
Because it'll be easier for you.
He's a very reasonable man, Mr. Ensley. He's easy to get on with. Known him for over 20 years. I've never fallen out with him. Not once.
He's a different type of man from Roger Stanton.
Frankly, Miss Bordall, Stanton is too aggressive.
And thorough?
Oh, I'll give him that. He's thorough. He does a lot of digging in every case he takes on. And he usually turns up something. At least he did.
What would he have turned up in the corruption case, Chief Inspector?
We'll never know.
Is Arnold Fielder the only one involved?
He's the only one who's been charged.
But the tip of the iceberg?
There's big money in town planning.
So a number of Peatfielders can sleep more easily now that Stanton's out of the way.
Could be.
You couldn't give me any names. In confidence, Chief Inspector.
As much as my job's worth.
I've heard Stanton was going to make some allegations against you.
He did that every time. Those were his tactics. Attack the police, accuse us of inventing things, planting evidence, making up confessions. Oh, it could be very effective. Jurors are very gullible people, and anti-police, a lot of them. But Stanton won't be trying those tricks again. Oh, no. That young man has done it for the very last time.
Come on, Roger, come on. Wake up. What has that man done to you? We can't fail now. Oh, thank goodness for that, he's waking. It's me, Roger. It's Sally. I've got some clothes for you. Open the top window. The top window. That's it. Here you are.
Thanks, Sally. Sorry, I don't know why I nodded off. When I want to sleep, I can't.
Undo the catch and we lift this bottom window. Good.
It won't move.
It must.
It's stuck.
We'll try lifting together. Right. Now.
My God, the alarm.
Jump down quick. It's only a few feet. Come on, Roger.
I'm doing my best.
We've got to move fast.
I feel so weak.
Now, jump. I'll help you.
Right. Oh, a foot.
You haven't hurt yourself.
I'll manage.
Run for the car if you can. It's only a few yards.
My legs. They're so stiff.
Do try to hurry up, Roger, please.
Oh, sports cars. They're so low down.
Oh, that's it. Oh, come on. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, no. He said he'd fixed it. Oh, Moppet, you can't let me down now.
Over there.
Come on, don't let me down now. Oh.
Phoebe has a Mercedes.
He won't catch me. It's the best driver, not the best car that wins.
Thank you for coming here so quickly, Chief Inspector.
Did you get the number of the car, Doctor?
It wasn't possible.
Was the other person a man or a woman?
There's only one person it can be, Mr. Elvington.
Sally Clough.
Correct.
Oh, we'll have him within hours.
Good. That is very good.
If we don't get Stanton by the time the court sits at 10:30, I'll have to inform the judge. He'll issue a bench warrant for Stanton's arrest.
That will be necessary?
It's routine.
It will be better if you can arrest him before 10:30, I think.
Oh, much.
I do not wish to cause any more illness to my patient.
The very fact of his escape
What
shouldn't do...
will happen to the girl?
Oh, Sally? Lovely little Sally. Have you seen her in summer dresses, Doctor?
No.
Oh, quite something.
You like Miss Clough, I think.
There's no sentiment in my job. When we get our hands on that young lady, it'll be contempt of court for her. He knew he was breaking his bail by leaving. She's obviously planned the whole thing.
And her punishment?
12 months. 18.
I shall not wish to make any charge against Miss Clough.
It won't be your decision, Dr. Phoebig.
But I'm often disturbed by patients in the early hours of the morning, Miss Clough. Do sit down, both of you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Would you like a cup of tea or something?
We've no time, Dr. Crowley.
On the run.
If they get us before you've examined Roger...
You realise that I am not an expert in psychiatry. Of course, there's a lot of mumbo-jumbo to it. They don't know much more about it than I do, or any other reasonably intelligent person. Nobody really knows how the human mind works. It's the most intricate piece of machinery that evolution has produced.
I'm sure it is, Dr. Crowley. But don't you think we ought to get on with the examination?
We've only read the first line on the first page of the Book of the Human Mind.
Either they get better or they don't. And most of them do, whatever you do to them.
Modern medicine in a nutshell, Roger. Now, what's wrong with you?
Well, only that I've been a bit bowled over by all this. Finding my wife like that, and being accused and then kept in that hospital.
Anybody who goes into Phoebig's place and isn't depressed when he goes in certainly is when he comes out.
I don't quarrel with that.
Clough is a patient of yours.
She is on my list, yes.
Oh, we want to see her. It's urgent. We think she might try to contact you.
Oh, why should Miss Clough try to contact me, Inspector?
Well, I can't explain now, Doctor, but if she does, will you give me a ring?
I can't deal with this now, Inspector. I have a patient who's bleeding.
I see. I'm sorry.
I must have a patient who's bleeding. Several of them.
Did you bring the pills, Roger?
Yes, they're here.
Now, let me see. Ah, I thought so. Carphobic speciality. The rest of the profession gave these up years ago. Are you religious, Roger?
Well, not specifically.
Meaning what?
Well, it's all very wonderful and well worked out and intricate. But how do I know if there's a being behind it all, pulling the strings, listening to my thoughts, and writing it all down in a great big book?
A somewhat simplified view of religion. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a Catholic. A congenital condition. And our religion is deliciously complicated. Complexity is all, as in Victorian architecture.
But the report. We're here for a report and there's so little time.
Miss Clough, when you are talking to your patients, do you always ask them direct questions?
I think so.
Then I commend my method to you. You can learn much more about a person by asking irrelevant questions. And now I've said that, Roger, you'll suspect everything I ask you.
I shall try to give honest answers.
Oh, a most abnormal patient you've brought me, Miss Clough. Honest answers, indeed.
I thought you might want to ask Roger about the case, his case.
If I don't forget.
There may be a knock at that door at any moment.
I shall stall them. Now, let me feel your pulse, Roger. Mm-hmm. Yes. You have a pulse. That is very satisfactory. Is your heart still beating?
Rather fast.
Excellent. Keep it going. After what Miss Clough just said, I thought I should check in the essentials. Oh, before I forget, did you kill your wife?
I did not.
Good. What makes you tick?
Are you back onto religion?
Answer it how you like.
Whether we like it or not, we are here. And we have to make the best of it, fulfilling ourselves, learning and striving, playing to the limit of ourselves, and hoping to find happiness when things click, as they sometimes do, and gritting our teeth and defying the storm when they don't, which is what's happening right now.
Miss Clough, your friend is frighteningly sane. He should be examining me. You can have your report or statement or illuminated address or whatever.
There's your fee, Doctor.
What fee?
I'm not on your list.
Mr. Stanton, do you think I'd have on my list a man who wants to drag my profession down to the penny-scraping level of your own?
Thank you for all you've done, Dr. Crowley.
My dear, I've done nothing but have an interesting conversation, one of the lost arts of this busy world.
We have to go and see Martin Hensley before he leaves for work, and before we get arrested.
Oh, he'll be playing with his model trains. He is whenever I call.
Are you his doctor?
Didn't you know?
I did not.
I did.
I'll write out that report now.
So, you like my trains, Miss Clough?
Very complicated. Very impressive, Mr. Hensley.
How did you get out of hospital, Roger?
I climbed out.
Jumped.
Is this Miss Clough's doing?
I helped, yes.
I warned you not to interfere.
Someone had to help, Roger.
You're both extremely foolish. I tried very hard for you in the magistrate's court, Roger. Now, most defendants in murder cases are remanded to prison, as you well know.
Well, I'm grateful, Martin, but it didn't work out at the hospital.
Now it'll mean the prison hospital. And there's nothing I can do about that.
I wouldn't expect you to try.
Well, that's not fair, Sally.
Oh, you'll find your saviour to be a very incautious young woman.
We've been to see Dr. Crowley. He says there's nothing wrong with Roger.
His opinion won't stand up against Phoebic and Clarendon. You're very ill-advised to leave that hospital, Roger.
There was no other way.
It's bound to go against you at the trial. The judge will be prejudiced against you from the start.
Mr. Hensley, the police have Margaret Stanton's diary, and we want you to get hold of it.
I'll think about it.
Think?
I may take counsel's opinion.
How long will that take?
Oh, you're a young woman in a hurry, Miss Clough. You have no patience at all. Your idea of progress is to cut corners. Look at these 2 trains going smoothly round their tracks. All is well, because I planned it that way, with thought and care. But suppose I try to be smart and speed things up and don't take the trouble to think about it.
Oh, your trains, Mr. Hensley.
You haven't damaged them.
What a shame.
It'll be worth it if I taught you something, Miss Clough. And even you, Roger. You were always pretty level-headed, but now that Miss Corner-Cutting Clough is leading you...
We've got this report from Dr. Crowley.
Thank you. In my opinion, Roger Stanton is not suffering. He's unlikely to benefit. Oh. I see.
How will you use it?
I shall file it.
Is that all?
Maybe of some use at the trial. Shall show it to counsel.
Oh, this is preposterous.
Martin, I'd like to talk to you about my defence.
There isn't time now.
I'll come and see you in prison, Roger.
I'm sure I've been framed by Chief Inspector Elvington.
And I was thinking how much better you seemed.
Did you know Margaret Stanton was a witch?
These delusions are infectious.
You see, it's been coming back to me, Martin. I caught Margaret telephoning to one of those people.
You said nothing about this when I took the statement from you.
Well, if you'd been to see me again, Martin...
You could have written to me.
This can have a colossal bearing on the murder. That diary may prove the whole thing if you'll make an effort to get hold of it. There's so little time.
Don't excite yourself.
You're so complacent.
You told me that before.
You were that before.
This is wasting time, Sally.
Oh, you'll soon learn, Roger, that the very worst thing you can do is to listen to this hasty young probation officer. And I must remind you of something else. I am your solicitor in this case, but like all solicitors, I am also an officer of the court. Now that I know you're unlawfully at large, I shall have to inform the authorities. I'll give you half an hour before I ring Chief Inspector Elvington.
Are you looking for me?
Mr. Granger?
I am the vicar, yes. But you're Mr. Roger Stanton, aren't you? And you're Miss Clough.
How did you know?
Well, the police have just been here. They showed me photographs.
What did they say?
An escaped murderer, they said.
Mr. Stanton is a solicitor.
Yes, I know.
And I'm not a murderer.
You must help us, Vicar. We're preparing Roger's case, and it looks as though witchcraft comes into it.
This places me in a difficult position.
The witchcraft?
The police. They were inquiring...
We're not asking you to do anything wrong, Vicar.
Did you know that Roger's wife was a witch?
Well, I did hear something. It has been common talk.
That ceremony in here, the night they left the skull, did you find out who they were?
In the course of my ministry, one hears many things. But you can hardly expect a person holding my office to blacken the character of any person in his parish by repeating mere gossip.
You play the organ very well, Vicar.
Oh, thank you. You're kind, Miss Love. I play merely for relaxation. This is my way of relaxing in the Lord's house, and a means of praising him.
Does it give a feeling of power to play the organ like that?
Power, Miss Clough? Not power. Elevation, perhaps. Spiritual elevation.
Vicar, one of those white robes was left behind that night.
Yes. Yeah, I can show it to you if you like. Come into the vestry.
And the skull, Vicar?
Chief Inspector Elvington sent them both back to me. Not that I have any use for them either. They have a certain curiosity value.
You could have destroyed them.
Well, I scarcely applied my mind to the matter. The robe is in here. It is in 2 parts.
The top part, it's a hood with eye holes. The lower part's made from a sheet.
What are these brown marks on the front?
Blood.
Blood?
Dried blood. They were analysed.
So the police knew about them?
It is the blood of an animal.
Can we see the skull?
Yes. It is in this cupboard. There.
Ooh.
Grinning down the centuries.
Yes, indeed.
Well, he may not be very old.
The skulls always grin like that.
He hasn't many teeth left.
It could be a she.
Skulls are usually he's.
That's feminine logic for you.
If you like, yes. Intuition.
Ah.
What a high forehead he has.
That means intellect. This one must be a man. Alas, poor Yorick.
That you should come to this devil worship in Peatfield Parish Church.
Yes, indeed. But that is enough, I think.
So, that's all they left behind?
Oh, there were a few candles and some wax droppings.
And there's been no repetition since that night?
No. There is, however, a full moon tomorrow, is there not?
Are you expecting a repeat performance, Vicar?
One has to be on one's guard now. I have arranged for volunteers to stay here tomorrow night. If you would care to join them...
We have other things to do.
The police.
They mustn't find us.
Where can we hide, Vicar?
Will you give us away?
If I'm asked questions, I shall do my best to do my duty. It is not always easy to say what one's duty is in this modern world.
It was good of that friend of yours to lend us her flat like this, Sally.
Oh, Celia and I always help each other.
We should have gone further away from Peatfield.
Let me get you a drink.
Something soft, please. I must keep a clear head and get all these drugs out of my system.
Roger, you said you were defending in a corruption case.
Arnold Fielder, planning officer. A man who wanted to build a house is supposed to have bribed Fielder £1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Elvington fixed Fielder with some admissions he never made.
Can you prove that?
Fielder had a hidden tape recorder.
And the tape?
Well, it's quite different from Elvington's account of the interview.
Who's got the tape now?
Martin Hensley.
Is he going to use it?
He must.
Then what does Elvington gain by getting rid of you?
I know it doesn't all add up, but I'm sure that case has got something to do with it. Planning permission is like gold these days. A lot of people in Peatfield have been at it. The Fielder case is only the tip of the iceberg.
Then there's Carl Fiebig.
I don't see how we can connect him with Margaret's death. Except they're both Germans.
I don't like Councillor Sugden.
Well, they say he's a millionaire. That man's name crops up too often. I've come across him in case after case, but he's always in the background, just out of sight.
Put Sugden on the list, then.
I suppose they're all in it together. One big monstrous coven of witches.
Working for the CIA?
Sally, why should one of Margaret's fellow witches want to kill her?
She could have threatened to expose one of them. She could have been blackmailing the one who did it. Oh, we are going to win, Roger.
Suppose I hadn't met you.
But you have. Rash, hasty, corner-cutting me.
Are you glad you came to live at Peatfield?
It has its moments.
No, it's not a bad place. They're a rough, tough, rude lot of people sometimes, but underneath there's heart and grit. Have you ever seen the snow powdering the Pennine Hills as the sun catches them? It's good to be alive then. It's good to be free, good to know that you've years and years of health and hope and effort and achievement ahead. That's what I used to feel.
And you will again, Roger.
Here it comes.
It may not be them.
This is it, Sally.
We shall win through, as long as we keep our heads.
As Marie Antoinette said.
Ah, Chief Inspector Elvington.
Why, Miss Clough.
Good morning.
What a pleasant surprise. May I come in?
Do, Chief Inspector.
Thank you. Oh, and Mr. Stanton, too. Well, well. Two birds with a single stone. If only police work was always this easy. Am I interrupting something?
Yes.
Well, do you mind postponing it for about 20 years? You won't mind, will you, Sally? Nice, patient girl like you.
Don't be offensive.
I've come to take you both for a ride.
Where to?
Well, 2 rides, to be precise. You, Mr. Stanton, to Dr. Fiebig's little place. If we'd left it another hour or so, you'd be going to prison.
I'd prefer that.
You don't have the choice.
And where are you taking me?
You, Sally, are under arrest for contempt of court. You can have details if you want them.
I can use my imagination.
If you'd had any, you wouldn't have chosen this hiding place. You don't have that many friends in Peatfield, and we know 'em all.
The fight isn't over yet, Elvington.
Oh, your fighting days are definitely over. Believe me, Mr. Stanton.
Men like you give dishonesty a bad name.
Oh, I like that, yes. Very witty. I like witty women. I shall enjoy your company, Sally. You'll be going up into the dock in the Crown Court later this morning, before Mr. Justice Pilkington.
Miss Clough,
Yes, my lord.
I obviously cannot deal with your contempt at the present moment.
I realise that, my lord.
And so the question of bail arises. Is there any objection to bail, Chief Inspector?
There's very strong objection, my lord. Miss Clough may make another attempt to induce Stanton to break his bail.
But, my lord, Roger Stanton shouldn't be in that hospital at all. There's a medical report to prove that he's perfectly normal mentally.
And where is the report?
Mr. Hensley has it, my lord.
Mr. Hensley?
Stanton's solicitor, my lord. I happen to know that Mr. Hensley is not in this building.
Mr. Stanton has been given drugs in that hospital that make his condition worse. They're trying to have him found unfit to plead when he's perfectly fit.
These are grave assertions, Miss Clough.
And I'd like you to go into them, my lord.
That will, in due course, be done, I'm sure.
There is just one more thing. The police have Margaret Stanton's diary, and we'd like to see it. It could be of great assistance to Mr. Stanton's defence.
What do you say about that, Chief Inspector Elvington?
Well, the diary has no relevance at all to Miss Clough's contempt of court, my lord.
But the two cases are interrelated. Do you object to handing over the diary?
I do, my lord, yes, as things stand.
Then let us see how they stand at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I shall interpose this matter then. Have the diary here at that time, Chief Inspector. I also want Roger Stanton bringing here. In the meantime, he must not be given any more drugs. I will deal with your application for bail at the same time, Miss Clough, at 2 o'clock. Now, Miss Clough.
Yes, my lord?
As Miss Bordall has kindly offered to act as surety for you, I am prepared to grant you bail in your own recognizance of £500 and £500 for the surety.
Thank you, my lord.
So, you may leave the dock. Now, Chief Inspector Elvington, having read all the papers concerning Mr. Stanton, including Dr. Crowley's report, it seems to me that Roger Stanton ought to leave the hospital where he has been residing. The question then arises, where should he live pending his trial?
Well, the only other place, my lord, is the prison hospital.
What do you say, Mr. Hensley?
My lord, there is another alternative. I know it is unusual to grant bail at all in murder cases, but having regard for the accused's excellent character and his unblemished record as a solicitor, I submit that he could be granted bail on terms, despite what happened yesterday.
And what terms do you suggest, Mr. Hensley?
My lord, Mr. Stanton could live with me. We could obtain 2 sureties, I have no doubt, and my client could report to the police, say, between 6 and 9 p.m. each day.
Yes, I agree to those terms.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you very much indeed.
Now that leaves the diary, Chief Inspector Elvington.
I have the diary here, my lord.
I direct that it be handed to the defence now.
Could it be handed to me, my lord?
Well, that is really for Mr. Stanton to say.
My lord, I think on the whole that it would be better if Miss Clough and I were to keep it for the time being.
Very well, but there must be no tampering with it.
I promise that, my lord. It was good of Martin to make that offer about bail.
Yes.
And to let me stay here. I told you he was all right.
I know you did.
Did he say when he'd be here?
About half an hour. At least that's what he said when he gave me the key. But look, Roger. In this diary of Margaret's, every full moon has been ringed in red, including the 14th, the night the witches were in the church. And today's date, that's ringed as well. You were right about that telephone conversation.
Which one?
Margaret's, the one you overheard. Now, when you look at the phone numbers in the back of this diary, most of them are obviously Margaret's friends, shops, clubs, etc. There are the names and addresses against the numbers, except for these 4. They're separate. They're written under the name Angelica.
Angelica?
Do you know anybody called Angelica?
Angelica? I don't think so.
No, neither do I. Against each of these 4 numbers is just one letter. A, S, J, and M.
Is that last one, the one with M, is it separate from the others?
There is a bit of a gap.
Well, we could ask the telephone exchange for the names and addresses belonging to the numbers.
They refused to give them to us. They'd tell the police, but we need to know now. We have to find out where these people are meeting tonight. It obviously won't be Peatfield Church. We have until about midnight to find out.
And if we do?
We can go and find out who's in this coven. They must know what happened to Margaret.
You think one of them killed her?
It's a strong possibility.
The police don't think so.
You mean Elvington doesn't?
We could ring the numbers.
It's the only way. The only quick way.
But they won't just tell anybody where they're meeting.
Depends how we handle it.
Who's going to do the telephoning?
Are you volunteering, Roger?
Well, if I felt 100%...
Then Sally will have to be the Aunt Sally.
Well, if we do find out, we'd better keep it to ourselves.
In this town, the only safe person to talk to is oneself. Well then, now, I'll start by ringing that last number with the M by it. 66883.
Do I know that number?
If you sit near me, you'll be able to hear the conversations.
Right.
Here goes then. Engaged.
There is somebody there.
Ringing up about tonight's ceremony?
Could be.
Now let's try A. It could be Angelica.
Briggs and Farnham, Alice Briggs speaking.
Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Briggs. It is Mrs. Briggs I'm speaking to, is it?
Who's that speaking, please? Who is that?
My name is Goodbody.
And what do you want?
I'm trying to contact someone called... a lady called Angelica. What do you make of that, Roger?
When you said Angelica, she didn't want to know.
It meant something to her, or she'd have said Angelica, or Angelica who?
Oh, never heard of Angelica.
Getting warmer, Roger. I'll see if M at 66883 is still engaged.
Yeah.
Very talkative.
Must be a woman.
Roger, are you a male chauvinist?
And a bit of a pig.
Do your own telephoning.
It's joke, darling, joke.
And who are you calling darling?
What was that?
You called me darling.
Me? I did?
Your memory was pretty feeble before, but now it's backed up altogether.
Now, that's unkind, Sally.
Joke, darling, joke.
But I do call people darling.
Oh, do you?
It just sort of slips out.
You need attending to, Mr. Stanton. But we have work to do. You could still face a certain criminal charge, remember?
Yes, I can't forget that.
Let's try S.
S for Sally.
It isn't my number.
Councillor Sugden. Who's that?
Oh, good afternoon, Councillor Sugden.
Sugden?
Who is that?
Sally Clough. Remember me?
What do you want, young woman?
Does the name Angelica mean anything to you, Councillor Sugden?
No, it does not. And the sooner you leave this town, the better. You're sacked.
What do you make of that, Roger?
Sugden's got a finger in every pie.
Even the witch's cauldron. I had a feeling he was mixed up in it.
Oh, I don't see how you could have.
Easy.
Oh, intuition, yes. Well, we still don't know where the meeting is.
That brings us to J. You know, there's something wrong with my telephone technique.
When you mention Angelica...
I could say, where are the witches meeting and can I come along? A bit direct, though.
Hello? Who's that?
Who's that, please?
Joan Halliwell. What is it you're wanting?
I'm ringing... It's all very hush-hush. But I'm ringing, Joan, because Angelica told me to get in touch with you.
Oh, are you the new one?
That's right.
And you want to know where it is?
Yes, please.
St Mark's Church, Cottingford. At usual time. See you there, dear.
Got it.
Right.
Cottingford. How far's that from here, Roger?
It's about 15 miles.
She said the usual time.
Yes, that was about 2 o'clock last time, wasn't it?
One last try with M. He might tell us what time they begin.
Yeah.
883. Oh, well, the end of a beautiful friendship that never was.
So, we go to tonight's ceremony.
That's the idea.
And watch outside.
Inside.
How?
All we need are 2 white hoods and 2 white sheets.
Oh, that's daring.
We've got to be.
Well, that must be Martin.
Yes.
Where do we get the
I
sheets?
can't ask Martin. We've run up his phone bill already.
Well, we can buy some. And then needle and cotton.
Guess whose job that'll be.
Hello, Martin.
I came as soon as I could.
We found the coffee, etc., thanks.
We've had a stroke of luck. I've been pumping Elvington. They've discovered a fingerprint on one of Margaret's earrings. They haven't found out whose it is. It could be the print of the man who did it.
So, we're making progress.
What about the diary?
It doesn't help very much.
May I look?
Yes. Here.
Oh, thanks. I'll hang on to it if I may.
Of course.
Anything else I can do?
Not at the moment.
What are you both doing this evening?
Well, we have one or two inquiries to make.
Inquiries?
Several inquiries. We'll tell you later.
Where's that envelope, Fabig? The one I left with you for safekeeping.
It is in the safe.
Get it. I shall have to destroy them now.
Destroy them?
The photographs. Margaret Stanton and her friends playing their little games. Oh, you ruined everything, Phoebe. I told you to look after Roger Stanton, keep him properly dosed. But you've actually gone and let him out.
That was not my fault.
Him and that Clough woman. They're spilling the beans already to High Court judge.
Our security is very modern.
Apparently. Any road you can say goodbye to planning permission for that new hospital. And I won't be giving you no donation neither. Not another penny you'll be getting out of me.
There are some things I do not understand.
A lot of things, if you ask me. You, with all those fancy letters after your name.
Why did you wish to have Stanton sent to Broadmoor?
He was getting too close for comfort. Had things organised very nicely in this town till he started digging around. That witchcraft thing, I could get what I wanted out of those people while I had the photographs.
But if Stanton is guilty...
Well, who else could it be?
He will be sentenced to life imprisonment.
After a trial, Fabig. A public trial with God knows what coming out. Now go and get me them photographs.
Cars should have heaters that work when they've stopped.
The cars or the heaters?
Oh, don't be legalistic, Sally.
Oh, they must be here soon if they're coming at all.
You don't think they've seen this car and shied off?
It's too well hidden.
The moon's very bright.
I think they'll park on that side of this hedge. We'll see them, but they won't see us for the trees.
If they're all in that van they used last time, they'll lumber us when we tag on to the end of the group.
Nobody knows who's who in the fancy dress.
Should we put it on now?
Wait till they come. Then we'll play it by ear.
Play it by fear.
No, intuition.
Oh, that.
Never fails.
Is that a car, Sally?
It must be them.
There's only one lot of headlights.
Oh, it's coming this side of the hedge.
Do you think they're dangerous?
No, just weird.
They're bound to see us.
Oh, those headlights. I can't see a thing.
It's going to stop here.
Hide your face.
How?
Oh, pretend we're lovers.
Yes, good idea. Oh.
I said pretend, Roger.
Can you see who it is?
Elvington. Do you think he followed us here?
He could have.
If he didn't, why is he here at all?
He must be one of them.
Did he see us, do you think?
Well, unless he's gone blind. But he may not have recognised us.
Never having seen us in this position before.
Where's he gone?
Towards the church. Oh, I've lost sight of him.
It all fits. If Elvington is one of them.
My intuition says no.
Sally, I wish we had some sort of plan. This playing it by ear.
Prefer to follow the music?
Uh-huh. I'd rather follow it than face it.
Look, more cars.
This must be the others.
3 sets of lights.
Shall we pretend again?
Oh, perhaps we ought to. Oh, if this is pretending, what's the real thing like?
They're putting on their robe things.
Oh, I wish I could see their faces.
It's a pity they're in the shadow.
We'd better get out and put ours on and follow them into the church.
Sally, the man at the door didn't even speak.
Just gave us the candles.
What weird-looking people.
Have you seen yourself, Roger?
It's the flickering candles.
Oh, like the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, they
notice an extra tomb?
Perhaps they're having a membership drive. In any case, they can't see who the extras are.
Do you think Elvington is one of them?
They could be anybody.
Why is nothing happening? We're all just sitting here. Can you see who the organist is?
It could be the vicar, but with that hood on.
They're all going up to the altar.
Oh, we'd better follow.
The one in the middle is taking his clothes off.
So he is.
So she is. If we all have to take our clothes off, they'll see who we are.
And we shall see who they are.
This is the police. The church is surrounded. Don't anybody move. You're not getting away this time. I'm interested to know who you all are.
What will you think of us?
Now, nobody will get hurt if they stay exactly where they are.
Stop! You can't get away. His hood's come off.
It's a woman.
And it's...
Miss Bordle. My boss. Miss Mary Bordle.
Another whiskey, Chief Inspector.
Ah, yes, please, Mr. Hensley.
Miss Clough?
No, thank you.
Roger.
Not for me, thanks, Martin.
Oh. Miss Bordle, of all people, eh?
I never expected her to be in it.
I can see now why she tried to warn me
I
off.
thought I knew my fellow Pete Fielders fairly well, but Mary Bordle...
And the vicar.
Well, the organist? Well, that was no surprise. They obviously used his keys on that last occasion.
Are either of them mixed up in the murder?
I don't think so. The witch thing is just mumbo-jumbo kid stuff for bored oddballs.
So, we're no nearer finding out who did kill Margaret.
The only person there's evidence against is you, Mr. Stanton.
So, this is why you came back here, Mr. Elvington, to tell me about Miss Bordle and the vicar?
And my car had starting problems.
I see. Yes, I was getting worried about Roger when it got about 3 o'clock.
Well, we tried to ring you, Mr. Hensley, but nobody knew your number, and turns out you're ex-directory.
Well, I don't like clients disturbing me at home. But you can have it. It's 66883.
Say that again, Mr. Hensley. That number.
66883.
It's the same number.
M for Martin. That's why it was engaged.
I was ringing this number on this phone.
And the number's on the dial.
It was staring me in the face.
What is all this?
Oh, I'd like to know.
Can I see that diary again, Mr. Hensley?
Yes, here it is, but I don't follow.
Thank you.
Well, what's all this got
That
to do with what...
page. It isn't here. It's been torn out.
Eh? Well, I photocopied every page. We can soon tell.
He's taken out the page with his phone number on. There were 4 numbers that Margaret Stanton wanted to keep secret, and this was one of
Yes,
them.
it was below the other 3.
Now, why should she want to keep your number secret, Mr. Hensley?
How should I know?
Why should she write it down at all?
Because it's ex-directory.
Did you tear that page out, Mr. Hensley?
Nobody else can have.
All right. Yes, I did.
Why?
I thought it might be misinterpreted.
What might be?
Well, you see, I was friendly with Margaret at one time.
How friendly, Martin?
Quite friendly.
Behind my back?
Yes, I suppose so.
Just how friendly?
All right, too friendly. I'm sorry to say this, Roger, but Margaret was a bitch.
What are you saying,
She
Martin?
was a bitch. She led me on. I was very foolish, I know. It went too far. He called me a silly old man, if you like, but it did go too far. And then she started blackmailing me, threatening to tell you if I broke it off. And then she wanted money and more money. And then I couldn't afford any more.
And then you did what to her?
Yeah, I didn't do that. No, you can't prove that. You'll never prove that. Never.
When did you last see Margaret Stanton? How long before she died?
A week before.
Sure?
It was exactly a week.
We'd better go and take your fingerprints.
You're not catching me that way, Inspector. My print might have been on that earring, but that doesn't prove anything. When we were friendly, of course, I might have touched
But
it.
you hadn't even seen her for a week?
Definitely not.
Well, this is very interesting. Mrs. Stanton only bought those earrings the day before she died.
Oh, that's not possible.
If it is possible, how did your fingerprint get on?
Unless you were the one who did it, Martin, and tried to fix me with it.
What village home, Barry?
I'm sorry, Roger.
I see now why you wanted me to go to Phoebix Hospital. Why you paid the fees.
I didn't pay.
Who did?
Councillor Sugden, he didn't want a trial. He wanted to put you away and shut your mouth.
Did Sugden know about you?
No. He thought Roger was guilty.
You'd better come and make a statement, Martin Ensley.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything.
You know the words of the caution, so I won't waste my breath.
So, Margaret wasn't killed because she was a witch.
No, because she was a bitch. Martin was right about that, and I never knew.
And what about Elvington?
He genuinely thought I was guilty, so he improved the notes of our interview. An old trick of his. One day I'll expose him.
You're a thorn in his side.
He'd have been glad to see me put away.
The main thing is, it's all over now.
About Martin, though. I can't believe it about Martin.
Roger, you know why I suspected him.
Intuition. Yes. Thank you for everything, Sally.
All that, and now nothing. I feel suddenly deflated, lost.
Let's play a game.
What game?
The game we played in the car.
Roger Stanton, you're very fortunate I shan't be doing that inquiry report now, after all. I should have had to tell the judge that in my considered opinion, based on experience, you are an extremely wicked man.
In Fit to Plead by James Fairfax, Sally Clough was played by Judy Bennett and Roger Stanton by Paul Chapman. Elvington was David Marlowe, Phoebic, Paul Webster, and Martin Hensley and the garage attendant, John Franklin Robbins. Tooley was Eric Allen, Mary Bordall, Joan Matheson, and the Reverend Richard Granger and Councillor Sugden, Ronald Badley. Sean Crowley was played by Dermot Crowley, Mrs. Briggs, Judith Barker, and Mrs. Helliwell, Marie Dixon. The organist was Keith Elcombe, and the play was directed in Manchester by Kay Patrick.
The Weather for Murder by Philip Levine. Elsie Pierce helps her sister to run the village tea shop, and in her spare time enjoys writing detective novels. Suddenly she finds fiction becoming alarmingly like fact.
Midweek Theatre. We present Murray Ney and Barbara Cooper in The Weather for Murder by Philip Levine.
Oh, Miss Pierce.
Just coming, Mr. Rayton. Won't be a moment. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Rayton. Something else you'd like?
Just my bill, please. Time I was back in the shop.
Busy, are you?
I've a pile of prescriptions that high.
In July? Wouldn't have thought you'd be overworked this time of year.
Warm weather brings its quota of complaints, too. You'd be surprised.
Let's see, it was a coffee and,
A toasted bun. Yes. I promised myself I'd lay off the starch, but whenever I come in here, my resolutions fly out of the window. Still, this little place is like an oasis in the desert. I don't know what we'd do without you in Froxley.
That'll be tenpence.
Cheap at half the price. See you at tea?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rayton.
I say, miss, what's happened to my order?
I didn't take it, did I?
No, it's the other lady, the short, thin one.
Oh, dear.
Waiting about 10 minutes now.
Oh, coffee, was it?
No, a pot of tea and a round of toast.
Oh, I expect it's on its way. I'll go and hurry it up. Millie, have you seen my sister?
Wasn't she in the shop, Miss Sarah?
Well, if she was, I'd hardly come out of the kitchen, would I?
Oh, here. Another typing machine upstairs?
Very probably. Now, I want a pot of tea and a round of toast, and be quick about it.
Right, Mum.
Elsie? 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 Oh, Elsie. Oh, did you call, Sarah? Did I call? I've been shouting myself silly for the past 2 minutes.
Really? I was concentrating.
What on earth are you doing?
I had a
here?
sudden inspiration. The most brilliant idea.
Oh, surely it would have kept till later. You know I rushed off our feet between 10 and 11. It's bad enough with the two of us. I can hardly cope on my own.
This is the most ingenious idea, Sarah. A whodunit, and it's set in one of those laundrettes. You know, where people take their laundry.
Well, I'm afraid I can't stop and chatter now.
Yes, but Sarah...
Later, dear, later. Now leave that and come along down.
Oh, good morning, Sergeant Foster.
Oh, hello, Miss Elsie.
Very pleasant out this morning, isn't it?
Ah, not that it make much difference to me. Stuck away in a miserable office. Wish I was back on the beat sometimes.
Oh, but it's much more fun investigating, isn't it?
The only investigating I done this week is to check on 1 dented mudguard and 2 lost cats.
Oh, you know, I was hoping you'd drop in this morning. There
Was you?
something I wanted to ask you.
Ah, picking my brains again, eh? What are you scribbling this time?
Scribbling? I'm busily writing, if that's what you mean.
Another thriller?
I suppose you'd call it that.
I'd have thought romantic novels would have been more in your line.
Oh, I don't know. Some of our most successful thriller writers are women. Agatha Christie, Dorothy Sayers...
Is that how you see yourself, eh? Another Agatha Christie?
Oh, it's a trifle ambitious, I agree. But even she had to start somewhere.
All right. What is it this time?
Well, I've set my story in a laundrette, and I wondered, would heat destroy a fingerprint?
Direct heat, certainly.
Oh.
Though mild heat might preserve it. But if there's any moisture about, or steam or anything like that, they disappear.
Oh, would they?
Afraid so.
Oh, what a pity. That's ruined everything. I shan't be able to use that after all.
Oh, sorry about that. But you know what I could use right now?
Hmm.
A nice, strong cup of tea. Think you might oblige?
Oh, certainly, Sergeant. I'll bring it directly.
Oh, Millie, is the roast in the oven?
Yes, ma'am.
It's cream of celery today. You haven't forgotten?
Oh, no, Miss Sarah. Cream of celery, roaster curry, date pudding and cheese to follow.
That's right. Oh, how are we off for curry powder?
Enough for today, but you'll need to order some more.
Are you off shopping, Sarah?
Just going. But I'll be back for the first of the lunches. Oh, have you typed up the menus?
Yes, I've got them here.
Fine. Put them round the tables. It reminds me, I must see if Mallards have got that sample in yet.
What sample is that?
The plastic tablecloth.
Oh, surely not, Sarah.
And what's the objection?
I simply loathe plastic.
Oh, well, that's no argument. They're highly practical.
I dare say, but must everything be practical? Oh, Sarah, customers prefer good old-fashioned cloths, linen. They're more homely.
That may be, but very impractical. Do you know what our laundry bill is each week? It runs into pounds.
Well, then, let's put up our prices.
Oh, they're quite high enough already. Elsie, you may not realize it, but we barely make ends meet.
Well, why don't we put in a few more tables?
Oh, my dear, if we put in another table or chair, there wouldn't be room to move.
But didn't you say something about enlarging the place?
Yes, I intend to, if I can acquire that small plot next door.
Oh, yes. The one that belongs to Mr. Everett.
Mm-hmm.
Have you spoken to him yet?
No, but I shall at the first opportunity.
He usually comes in about 11, though he hasn't been in this morning.
Well, if he does, for heaven's sake, don't you say anything. It needs a tactful approach. Yeah. And let's face it, you've no head for business. So I think you'll agree it's best left to me.
Oh, yes, indeed, Sarah. I'd be quite hopeless.
Good. Well, you set out those menus. You've put on the correct date, haven't you?
Yes, the 16th of July.
Fine. Then when you've done that, I should have your coffee. Oh, don't leave the shop, will you?
Oh, no, Sarah.
I'll see you shortly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Sarah.
Good morning, Mrs. Clark.
Good morning, Miss Elsie. Oh, I forgot the doughnuts when I was in earlier. They haven't all gone, have they?
Oh, no, there's half a dozen left.
Well, I take them then. Oh, my, it's been such a morning in the post office. I ran out of 7 8 insurance stamps.
Good morning, Elsie.
Oh, hello, Mr. Everett. If you'll find yourself a table, I shan't keep you long.
Thank you. There's no hurry.
That'll be 1 and 6, Mrs. Clark.
That's it, then. Well, thank you so much. Morning, Miss Everett.
Good morning, Mrs. Clark.
The usual, Mr. Everett.
Please. Oh, I seem to have missed the rush.
Yes, we were frightfully busy earlier on. I was just about to have my coffee, too.
Oh, well, join me if you like.
Oh, may I? Anything with your coffee?
Just a plain bun, I think.
Right. I shan't be a jiffy. Yours is, half and if I remember rightly.
Yes. No milk for you?
No, I prefer mine black. They say black coffee keeps the mind alert and clear. And that's very essential if one's doing creative work, don't you think?
Oh, very. How's the writing coming along?
Oh, not too badly. But it's so difficult finding new ideas. Oh, excuse me, just a moment. There's the postman.
It's for you, Miss Pierce.
Oh, is it?
One parcel, but no need to sign.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Oh, dear.
Another rejection? Well, never mind. There are a great many other publishers.
No, I'm afraid there aren't. I've exhausted them all. Oh, well, into the wastepaper basket, I suppose.
Tell me, what was it about?
Oh, I'd hate to bore
Oh,
you.
you never bore me, Elsie. On the contrary. Now then, come along.
Oh, well, it was about a private detective in Soho.
Do you know any private detectives?
No, I don't.
Have you ever been to Soho?
No, but I've seen pictures and read books.
Ah, that's the trouble, you see. Surely it's best to write from your own experience.
Possibly. But I could hardly write about Frockstein, could I?
Oh, why not? You know Frockstein.
Oh, it's so dull and boring, and this tea shop wouldn't make a very exciting background for a thriller.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. At least you'd know the people. A murder isn't limited to any particular background or class. I bet there isn't a person anywhere who hasn't thought of murdering someone at some time.
Oh, not you, surely, Mr. Everett.
Oh, you'd be surprised. And whilst I remember, I wish you'd call me Victor.
Oh, well, as long as Mrs. Everett won't object.
Oh, why should she? Now, if you would take my advice, Elsie, you'll start your next novel nearer home.
I'll try. I must say I'm getting a little tired of rejection slips. Oh, I meant to ask you before, what happened to your dog?
My dog?
Yes, Dandy, wasn't that his name? Such a lovely Labrador with the best coat I've ever seen.
I'm afraid I had to get rid of him.
Oh, not destroy.
No, I had to find him a new home.
Oh, however could you part with
But it wasn't through choice. Nora, Mrs. Everett, felt there wasn't room for him in the cottage.
Oh.
We've one or two fine pieces and, well, he was rather a large dog.
Oh, what a pity.
Yes, well, one has to give and take in marriage.
I suppose so. And anyway, you've still got your dahlias.
Well, no, I haven't actually.
Oh, haven't you? But I thought you had a wonderful collection.
I did, but Nora doesn't care for dahlias. She says they attract blackfly, so we've switched to a herbaceous border.
Oh, sad.
No, not really. I must say those blackfly were a bit of a nuisance.
But in spite of them, I heard that one year you took almost every prize at the county show.
Oh, that's quite right, I did. Before you and your sister came here, before I remarried, several summers ago. Odd, when I think back now. Just Dandy and I. My dahlias, blackfly and all.
Your wife's from London, isn't she?
Yes, though we first met on a cruise. It's funny how that happened. My first holiday in years. She was a science teacher, you know. You wouldn't think it to look at her, but she's terribly bright. Good brain. Used to teach in the secondary modern. Well, we seemed to get thrown together on the cruise. And we were never out of each other's company.
Oh.
And when I got back, I found I missed her. I wrote, and then out of the blue, she turned up here. And, well, that was that. Not terribly romantic, is it? Won't give you much copy, I'm afraid.
Well, didn't your wife find it very quiet here in Frockstein?
Well, at first, Nora was all for moving back to town. Then suddenly she changed her mind. I think it was the cottage.
And I'm not surprised at that. It's adorable. Though I only know it from the outside, and I love that beautiful bay window.
Yes, that's the lounge.
Oh, is it? It looks rather like an inn with that, what do you call it, bubble glass?
Bullion glass. Yes, genuine, too. Not this mass-produced stuff.
Yes.
It's a bit warm in the summer, but I must say I find it delightful. The only thing is, one has to be careful with the furniture or the sun can blister the varnish.
I can't imagine a lovelier cottage for retirement, Mr. Everett.
Victor.
Oh, yes.
I'm not completely retired, you know. Not by a long chalk. I'm still on the boards of several companies.
Are you?
Yes, Harmsworth. Mutual Investments, not forgetting McCowan's.
What, the big London store?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'll be driving up to a board meeting tomorrow. You wouldn't be going up to town, would you?
Me?
Well, I thought perhaps I could give you a lift and we might have a bite of lunch together.
Oh, thank you. Oh, but I rarely go up to town.
Oh, well, some other time.
Yes.
Ah, here's your sister. Well, time I was off. I'll take my bill, if I may.
Good morning, Mr. Everett.
Hello.
I'm glad I caught you. I wondered if I might have a word with you.
Certainly.
Here, Elsie, give these groceries to Millie, would
Oh,
you?
yes, Sarah, yes.
Well, now, Mr. Everett, I hope I'm not holding you up.
No, of course not. What can I do for you?
To come straight to the point, it's about that small vacant plot next door. I understand from my solicitors that it belongs to you.
Yes, I bought it some years ago. It was part of the old Lingfield estate.
Well, my sister and I were thinking of enlarging the shop. We're rather cramped here, as you can see.
Well, if you're thinking of making an offer, don't make it to me.
I'm sorry.
I made over a few properties to my wife at the time of our marriage, and I have a feeling that's among them.
Oh, I see.
Well, there's no harm in your having a word with her. I'll tell you what. I'll mention it to her when I get back and ask her to telephone you.
Would you? I'd be most grateful.
But knowing my wife, I better warn you. She'll drive a hard bargain.
Oh, Millie?
Yes, Miss Sarah?
Are the new gateaux iced?
Yes, I'm just going to put the walnuts on.
Oh, answer that, Elsie, would you?
Oh, yes, Sarah.
Millie? You did check that delivery yesterday?
Twice.
Well, then where's the curry powder?
In the cupboard.
Oh, I told you a dozen times, Millie. Spices go on the shelf by the stove.
Oh.
Elsie, that wasn't Mrs. Everett by any chance?
No, Sarah. It was Mrs. Clark from the post office. She asked me to put aside a jam sponge.
Oh, I should think Mr. Everett forgot to speak to her.
Oh, Sarah, if he promised, then I'm sure he will. He's a frightfully nice man. Such perfect manners.
But easily led. Fancy handing property to his wife just like that.
No, that shows how considerate he is. I admire him for it. I think Mrs. Everett's a very fortunate woman.
Well, you're not the only one. From what I hear, there were quite a few broken hearts in Froxteen when the banns went up. Isn't that right, Millie?
Oh, yes, ma'am. There were dozens who had their eye on him. Well, a cottage and a car and pots of money. Oh, I wouldn't have said no to him myself. Still, he hasn't done bad for himself, has he? I mean, she's very smart and not at all bad looking. Got pots herself, I expect.
Oh, a shop, Elsie.
Oh, right, Sarah.
Oh, that smells like the scones.
Oh, Ma'am.
Yeah, Millie, take the cloth or you'll burn your fingers.
Yes, Ma'am.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Everett.
Good morning. I'll take a wholemeal loaf and a small gateau.
Certainly.
Is that all you've got? Chocolate? The one I had the other day was rather sickly. Haven't you anything else?
Oh, we've a new line. Walnut cream. I'm sure you'd like that.
May I see one?
Oh, Millie's just topping them with walnuts.
Well, I've got a lot to do this morning. How long will they be?
Oh, 5 minutes, no more.
Oh, well, if I've got to hang about, I'll stop for a coffee.
Oh, yes, do. I shan't keep you waiting long. Sarah, Mrs. Everett's just come in. She's staying for coffee.
Really?
Yes, but would you believe it, Sarah? She said our chocolate gateau was sickly.
Oh, what nonsense. We've never had any complaints before.
I know. I almost gave her a piece of my mind.
I hope you didn't.
Oh, no, of course not. I persuaded her to try one of the walnut creams. Are the walnut creams ready yet, Millie?
Almost. I'll be through in a jiffy.
Well, then, I'd better take in her coffee meantime.
No. I'll serve her. It'll be a good opportunity to talk to her about next door.
Oh, yes, Sarah.
Black or white, Mrs. Everett?
Just a dash. That's fine.
Oh, there's no sugar bowl. Just a moment.
Don't bother. I take saccharin.
Of course. I should have remembered by now. Anything else for you?
No, not just now. Though I'm glad you brought the coffee in, Miss Pierce. It saves me telephoning. My husband mentioned you'd been inquiring about the plot next door.
Oh, yes. As he may have told you, we're anxious to enlarge our premises.
Business is flourishing, is it?
Not exactly, but, well, as you can see, we're rather limited for space. In our busy times, it becomes rather chaotic.
I see. Well, what sort of figure had you in mind?
I'm not very sure. Judging from what we gave for these premises, I suppose the land must be worth about 300.
300? Oh, Miss Pierce, you're way behind the times.
Oh?
In the past year, prices have simply soared.
Have they?
Well, don't you read your newspapers? Building land's at a premium. Yours isn't the first inquiry I've had. Oh, no, I'm afraid I couldn't let that plot go under 1,200.
1,200? But that's exorbitant.
Well, I don't think there's much point in our discussing the matter further, do you? So if my gateau's ready, I'll settle the bill, and then I must fly. I've a very busy day ahead of me.
Oh, the heat. Elsie, if you're on your way to the kitchen, put on the other fan, will you? It's terribly close.
I intended to, Sarah. Oh, Put on the other fan, Millie.
All right, ma'am.
And 2 pots of tea, 1 china, and an egg on toast.
Toast, yeah. Phew, wasn't it turned warm? I'm sweltering.
Well, we've got both fans on now. I should open the window fully.
Must be the hottest day we've had this summer.
Have you got that ham sandwich for Sergeant Foster?
Yes, here it is. With mustard. Oh, and that round of cinnamon toast.
Oh, thank you, Millie. Your sandwich with mustard, Sergeant.
Ah, thanks, Miss Elsie.
I expect that uniform's a trifle warm this weather.
Oh, you can say that again. Still, I suppose I should be thankful I ain't on traffic duty. I wouldn't fancy that with the thermometer touching 80.
Is it as high as that?
Yes, a sudden high ridge sweeping in from the Azores.
Oh, is that what it is?
That your telephone?
Yes.
Answer that, would you, Millie?
Yes, ma'am.
It's all right. Millie's taken it.
Oh, you know what I could do with an issue of Tropical Kit.
Oh, I'm sure you'll feel refreshed once you've had your tea. Sergeant, I meant to tell you, I've given up writing stories about private detectives. I'm going to concentrate on something nearer home, from my own experience.
Well, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
Sergeant Foster!
Yes, what is it, Millie?
The phone just now.
No, just take it easy and catch your breath.
But that was your constable. He's had an urgent call. The Everett's cottage is on fire.
What?
Oh, no. He sent for the brigade, but there's a terrible blaze.
Quick, let's have me helmet.
Oh.
I'm afraid there's little we can do, Sergeant. It's like a raging furnace in there. Just burn itself out.
Are you sure there's no one inside?
Well, my men couldn't get within 10 yards of the place. We can only pray and hope.
How do you think it started?
Your guess is as good as mine. That old timber construction's a menace. Once it's alight, there's no holding it.
Some blaze.
We're lucky it's isolated. At least there's no damage to surrounding property.
You'll have to watch that garden shed.
Oh, not to worry. My men have got their eye on that. Oh, I see we got ourselves an audience.
Yes, half the village turned out with looking at it.
I wish they'd keep their distance. They're getting a bit close to that fence.
You leave them to me, I'll handle them. All right now, folks. Now, keep well back to that fence. Come along back now, please. Come along back now.
Sergeant, what a pity about that lovely cottage.
Why, Miss Elsie, what are you doing down here?
I never could resist a fire.
Well, I must say, you won't see another one like this in a hurry. That roof will be in any minute.
Is Mrs. Everett safe?
We're keeping our fingers crossed.
She was in the shop this morning.
Was she? What about her husband?
He's gone up to London for a board meeting. He mentioned something yesterday.
Where was this meeting, did he say?
Yes, he's the director of McCowan's.
Oh, that's helpful. I'll try and get him on the blower right away. Now, do keep away from that fence, please!
And so, finally, gentlemen, I have no hesitation in saying that we can look forward to a highly profitable and satisfactory year.
Oh, Mr. Everett,
Yes, Miss Brown?
there's a telephone call for you.
Well, I can't be disturbed now.
It's the police sergeant from Proxtine. He says it's extremely urgent.
Oh? All right. I'll take it. Where is it?
Next door in the outer office.
Would you excuse me a moment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, of course, Everett.
Hello? Oh, I shan't give you a moment, Sergeant. He's just coming. Oh, here you are, sir.
Thank you. Hello? Yes, speaking. Please come to the point. I'm in the middle of a board meeting. What? When did this happen? I see. But is my wife all right? Well, if she returns before I get there, tell her I'm on my way back. Yes. Yes, I should be there by 6. If it's good of you to call, Sergeant. Thank you. Miss Brown,
Yes, sir?
get me a brandy, would you?
Certainly, sir. The usual with soda.
No, make it a double. And neat.
Honestly, Elsie, I don't understand people at all. They only have to hear the word fire and they start behaving like a bunch of schoolchildren.
It's just natural curiosity.
Well, I can't see anything natural about it. It's morbid, if you ask me. I've never seen such a stampede. You, Millie? But the place emptied itself so quickly, you'd have thought the tea shop was on fire.
Well, you should have come too, Sarah. It was still burning when I left. Oh, poor Mr. Everett. He will be upset.
Well, I hope he had the good sense to be insured.
But that'll hardly compensate for the loss of such a charming cottage. And all the inconvenience, Sarah. I mean, where will the Everetts live?
Well, they'll have to find a hotel.
And to think of all their beautiful antique furniture.
It'll be replaced if it's insured.
Oh, but it's not the same.
Be practical. One chair's the same as another.
But they've lost everything. Except the garden shed.
It's about time Millie was back. I'll have something to say to her, gallivanting off without so much as a by your leave.
Oh, if she is now.
And about time.
Sorry, Mum, but the most terrible things happened.
Oh?
The fireman found a body in the cottage.
Oh, dear.
It's Mrs. Everett, there's no doubt. Oh, to think she was only in here this morning.
Now, use your handkerchief, Millie, for goodness sake. Are they certain it was Mrs. Everett?
Yes, I heard the fireman say.
Oh, how dreadful.
Oh, it was terrible, Mum. They had a police car there, and she was all covered in a sheet.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
All right,
was
Millie.
shocking, Mum.
Now, just pull yourself together. Get the tea things washed up, and then you can go off.
Right, Mum.
Oh, poor Mr. Everett.
Oh, yes. Poor man. But people get over these things like everything else.
Still, we could offer to help.
Help? In what way?
Well, Sarah, it's an awful thought that the poor man will have to stay alone in some ghastly hotel room. Couldn't we offer to put him up for a day or two?
Well, I suppose we could.
Oh, we've a spare room, Sarah, and he wouldn't be much bother. He could eat down here. Oh, surely it's the least we could do.
I'm sorry to have brought you down here, sir, but it wasn't necessary for identification purposes.
I understand, Sergeant.
Oh, there's a deed box in my office. I'm afraid that's all that was salvaged.
Thank you. Well, I suppose I'd better look round for a room of some sort.
No need to worry, sir. Miss Pierce in the tea room said they'd be happy to put you up.
Really? I don't know whether I could bother them.
Oh, they'd be only too pleased. They'll be much more comfortable there in an hotel. And we shall need you for the inquest.
Now, Doctor, you examined the remains of the deceased?
Yes.
Would you state your opinion as to the cause of death?
Shock, following multiple burns to the chest and abdomen. I should perhaps add it was not possible to conduct a normal post-mortem beyond a routine examination of the throat and lungs.
Due to the extensive burns?
Yes, though after reading the fire officer's report and noting the position in which the deceased was found, I'm of the opinion that Mrs. Everett was asleep in a chair when the flames enveloped her.
Thank you, Doctor. Go on, Victor Everett.
Victor Everett.
I swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Do take a seat, Mr. Everett.
Thank you.
You are Victor Everett, formerly of Hillside Cottage, Meadows Lane, Froxteen.
Yes.
On what occasion did you last see your wife?
On the morning of the 17th of July, at about 10:30. I was due at a board meeting in London that afternoon, but I thought I'd go up a little earlier. My wife had some shopping to do, and we left the house together, as I say, around 10:30.
And later that day at approximately 6:15 p.m., you identified the body of a woman at the Froxteen police station as that of your wife?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Everett, although we shall be calling an expert witness in a few moments, have you any comments to make at this stage as to the cause of the fire?
No, I'm afraid I haven't. We didn't have gas in the house. My wife preferred electricity. And the entire cottage was rewired by the board about 18 months ago, shortly after my wife and I were married.
Was your wife in the habit of smoking?
No.
Were there any inflammable materials stored in the house?
None at all, as far as I know. I've a bottle of Sinners and some methylated spirits, but they're kept in the garden shed, well away from the house.
So you can offer no explanation as to the cause of the fire?
I'm afraid I can't.
Well, thank you, Mr. Everett. You may step down. Call Mr. R.A. Jenkins, County Fire Officer.
Mr. R.A. Jenkins, County Fire Officer.
I swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
You are Ronald Arthur Jenkins, Fire Officer of this county?
Yes, sir.
And on the afternoon of the 17th of July, you examined the debris and what remained of the residence known as Hillside Cottage, Meadows Lane, Froxteen.
I did.
And did you reach any conclusion concerning the origin of this fire?
I did, sir.
Will you state these conclusions to the court?
Certainly, sir. I have had extensive experience in locating what is known as the seat of the fire. That is its point of origin. and I am of the opinion that the fire commenced in the region of the lounge window.
How exactly?
Well, the afternoon of the 17th was extremely hot. Temperatures were in the 80s. The lounge window contained bullion glass. Now, due to several factors, the angle of the sun, the bubble in the glass, the sun's rays were concentrated onto the curtain, rather like a child playing with a magnifying glass. I should say the temperature reached might have been in the neighborhood of 200 to 230 degrees centigrade, sufficient to ignite a curtain made of cotton or similar fiber.
Were they of cotton?
I can't say. They were completely destroyed in the fire, though the residue suggested they might have been.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. You've been most helpful. In the case of Honora Everett, aged 42, who died in the fire at Hillside Cottage, Froxdean, we've heard the evidence of her husband, also the police pathologist, and the county fire officer. And from their evidence, it appears that this fire was the accidental outcome of the combination of a number of elements.
Come in.
Oh, I hope I'm not disturbing you, Mr. Everett.
Of course not.
I brought you a few flowers from the garden. Help cheer up the room.
I saw you cutting them, but I didn't realize they were for me. Dahlias, too. Oh, thank you.
Are you quite comfortable?
Oh, very. I really can't thank you and your sister enough. You've been so very kind.
Oh, not at all.
Though I don't think I should stay here much longer. I've been here over a week.
Oh, you're not any trouble. And it's quite a change having a man about the house.
Well, I'm negotiating for another cottage, but these things do take a little time.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome to stay till everything's settled.
Thank you. How's the writing coming along?
Oh, well, I've been thinking about what you said. Finding a subject nearer home.
Yes.
And to tell you the truth, I did get an idea, but, well, on reflection, I thought it might be in bad taste.
Ah, now, that immediately makes my ears prick up. Tell me more.
Must I?
Come now. It surely can't be as bad as all that.
You might change your mind if I tell you.
Well, you try me.
Well, if you must know, it came to me during the inquest.
The inquest?
On your wife.
Please, do go on.
Well, I don't know how to say it, but I thought it might be an idea to start my story with a fire in the village.
Well, it's been done rather often.
Yes, I suppose it has. I haven't really worked it out in detail. I thought I'd talk it over with Sergeant Foster when he drops in for tea. And unless, of course, you feel or you object.
But why on earth should I? No, do go ahead. Though, personally, I should have looked for something a little more original.
Have you seen the Gazette, Sergeant Foster?
What's that?
There's a picture of you and Mr. Everett leaving the coroner's court.
Oh, is there? Oh, those reporters, they just can't leave one alone, can they?
Mr. Everett's turned away slightly, but it's a very good likeness of you.
Well, let's see. Good grief, that's an insult. Whoever that was, well, take it away. Oh, by the way, I noticed you at the inquest, Miss Elsie, scribbling away in your notebook.
Did you? Yes. You see, finding myself in a coroner's court amidst tragedy, as you might say, I had a sudden inspiration.
Oh, not for another thriller.
Why, yes. Surely it's best to write from your own experience.
Now, you watch your step. That sort of thing can upset people, you know, and you could find yourself with a libel suit.
Oh, no, my village would be entirely fictitious, Sergeant. I was going to call it Medborough or something far removed. I shouldn't think of causing anyone offence.
Well, who's your choice for a victim?
Well, I had in mind an attractive middle-aged woman.
I say, that's pushing coincidence a bit too far, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I see what you mean. Oh, well, she could be young, I suppose. It doesn't really matter.
What about method? Given that any thought?
Well, to be honest, the thing that sparked me off, forgive the pun, was the idea of the bullion glass. But instead of it being an accident, in my book, the fire's caused deliberately.
Sounds a bit far-fetched to me.
As I dare say it is. Oh, but I was hoping you'd be some help, not put a damper on it.
Well, you must be realistic, Miss Elsie. Now, sit down a minute.
Oh, yes.
Now, perfect murder requires, among other things, perfect timing.
Yes.
And no murderer would ever leave things to chance. What happened at Hillside Cottage depended on quite a few things outside anyone's control. Now, for one thing, the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mrs. Everett being alone and dropping off like that. And as the fire expert said, The choice of curtain.
Yes, you have a point there.
Mind you, I suppose there is such a thing as dramatic license. I suppose your murderer could have kept his eye on the weather reports. We're just waiting for a scorcher. But with our climate, he might have had to wait half a lifetime. And then to make sure the victim did drop off, you could always slip her a couple of sleeping tablets.
Yes, Sergeant, yes, but wouldn't that show at the autopsy?
Depend on what's left of the victim. In the case of fire, it's unlikely. Then regarding the curtains, I suppose one could persuade the victim to buy cotton. Well, that's stretching imagination a bit, don't you think?
Yes, doesn't sound very convincing. And anyway, even if the murderer did go to all that trouble, how on earth would I catch him out?
The husband, you mean?
Yes, how would I solve it?
Well, that's your little problem, isn't it? I'm no writer. Although, for what it's worth, in my experience, criminals invariably have to lie somewhere along the way. And the trouble with liars is they have such bad memories. Sooner or later, they'll drop a clanger. So when you settle down at your typewriter, I'd bear that in mind if I was you.
Yeah.
Oh, forgive me, Elsie. I didn't realize you were in here.
Oh, do come in.
Oh, thank you.
The pot's still warm. Would you like a cup?
Oh, thanks. No, don't you get up. I'll see to it. Would you like a second one?
Oh, yes.
It'd give me pleasure to serve you for a change.
Thank you. Sarah's at a club committee meeting.
Oh, another?
She can't sit still for a moment. Always doing something. Been like that all her life, even as a child.
It must get rather lonely for you.
Oh, I'm used to it.
I'm afraid that's one thing I've never got used to. Loneliness. I'm a person who needs companionship. You are?
Thank you. You must miss her dreadfully.
Who?
Your wife.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. That was tactless of me.
Oh, not at all. One can't grieve forever, can one? There's no point in moping. There comes a time when one must face reality.
Oh, I imagined you were something of a sentimentalist.
Oh, now, Elsie. I know you will hate the cliché, but never judge a book by its cover. Throughout my professional life, I've learned to adapt myself to the situation. It's the only way.
I'm different. I've never been willing to accept second best. That's probably why I've remained an old spinster.
Not old.
Oh, come now. As you said, one must face reality.
Perhaps. But it still puzzles me why somebody hasn't snapped you up long ago.
Oh, do forgive me. Would you like a piece of cake? It's chocolate.
Yes, I think I will. Oh, hey, no, not too large a slice.
It's our own, you know.
Yes, I've had your gâteau on several occasions. They're excellent. But the one I'm really partial to is that new one of yours. What do you call it? Walnut cream.
Yes, that's one of Sarah's creations. Walnut cream, did you say?
Yes. Even Nora was aghast when I asked for a second helping. Oh, don't look so surprised. I have a very sweet tooth. I'm sure you must have noticed.
Yes, of course.
Oh, what is it? Are you all right?
I'm sorry. I hope you won't think I'm being rude, but I've a slight headache. I think I'll have an early night.
Elsie? Oh, in bed already?
Yes, I was feeling rather tired.
Oh, well, then I won't disturb you.
No, don't go, Sarah. Did the meeting go well?
Very. The bazaar's to be held on the 25th. I've promised them one or two things.
Oh, I should give them a sponge or a gâteau.
I probably will.
That new one of yours. Walnut cream is very popular.
Yes, I'm feeling rather proud of that.
You know, I suddenly realized the very first one went to Mrs. Everett.
Oh, did it? Oh, yes, you're right. I remember now. The day of the fire.
And if Mr. Everett drove to London at 10:20, he couldn't have had any of it.
Well, he's made up for it. He had several portions of tea yesterday.
Oh, did he? Yes, but what I mean was...
Now, you lie back and I'll straighten your pillow. There. If you're feeling tired, this is no time to chatter. That's
Your tea cake, Mr. Rayton.
You'll be the ruin of me, Elsie. hear you're looking a trifle pale this morning. Had a bad night?
I didn't sleep too well.
You ought to try a nightcap. Or maybe you need a tonic. Come across to the shop. I'll fix you up.
Oh, no, I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Well, whatever else you take, don't let me see you with a prescription for sleeping tablets. Although I sell them, I don't approve of them. It's a bad habit to get into.
No, I've never taken any.
Well, I shouldn't start. Confidentially, if you knew the number of people who take sleeping tablets, you'd have a fit. In this village, too.
Really?
Mrs. Turner from the manor.
No.
Bert Parker at the pub. Old Mrs. Denton. Mr. Everett. Charlie
Mr.
Miller.
Everett, did you say?
Yes, I thought that would shake you. But I filled a prescription for him not a fortnight ago.
Millie, have you seen Mr. Everett?
Yes, he went out early.
Where to, did he say?
He's gone along to the cottage, I think.
What, Hillside Cottage?
I expect so. Fancy going back there. Gives me the creeps every time I walk by.
Look, Millie, I'm going out for a little while. If my sister wants me, tell her I'll be back within the hour.
Who's that? Oh, it's you, Elsie. Oh, you did startle me for a moment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Everett.
Oh, what are you doing out here?
Oh, just taking a stroll.
Hmm?
I noticed the shed door was slightly ajar, and I thought someone had broken in.
No, it's been under lock and key since the fire. I came by for a few tools.
What have you got there?
Hmm?
In your hand?
Oh, this tin, you mean? Just some sodium chlorate. Your path could do with weeding. I thought I'd make myself useful. You don't mind my helping out in the garden?
No. I'm sure Sarah will be most grateful.
Yes, but what about you? I was hoping I'd save you a few back-breaking jobs.
Oh, well, thank you.
Elsie, I have a confession to make to you.
You... confession?
Yes. Trouble is, where to begin?
Is it about your wife?
I can see no one can keep things hidden from you. The truth is, we didn't get on very well. During the past 6 months, it became almost unbearable. It was as much as I could do to sit in the same room with her. Oh, I escaped whenever I could. You know, your little tea room was a haven to me. Oh, the fire was a shocking, dreadful thing to have happened, but if I'm to be honest, I'm not unhappy. Far from it.
Why are you telling me this?
Because well, with everyone offering their condolences, it's been a great strain having to keep up this pretense. I needed to tell someone. Who better than you?
Oh. You were up rather early this morning, weren't you?
Always been an early riser.
Oh, didn't you sleep well?
On the contrary, never better.
Sarah came in rather late. I thought she may have disturbed you.
No, I'm a very heavy sleeper.
Have you always been like that?
Yes, since I can remember. I'm one of those people who drops off the moment their head touches the pillow.
Oh, Mrs. Clark, you haven't by any chance seen Sergeant Foster, have you?
No, hasn't he been in?
No, not yet.
Oh, he's probably over at the county court. I think he'd be in later on. I can't see him missing the roast. Oh, by the way, Miss Elsie, is Mr. Everett still with you?
Yes.
You know, my husband and I offered to put him up, but you got in first. Oh, I don't doubt he's comfortable there. Not much trouble, neither, is he?
Oh, none at all.
Awful thing to have happened when you come to think of it. And such a nice man, so considerate to her, although she was a bit of a so-and-so.
Yes.
You know, I've never known a man worry about his wife's health and comfort as much as he did.
Really?
Yes. You know, she was very susceptible to rheumatism, as Mrs. Everett.
No.
Oh, well, nothing serious, but he'd never take any chances with her. Now, this'll take a lot of believing, but do you know, he used to ring me up at the post office daily to put him through to London for the weather report. Never missed a day throughout the summer, just in case of rain. Now, wasn't that considerate?
Yes. Very.
Oh, my Gracious goodness, look at the time. I'll have a queue of customers at the counter, I'll bet. Oh, yes, Sergeant Foster, now.
Hello, Mrs. Clark.
Oh, I can't stop just off the way, Sarge.
Is the roast still on, Miss Elsie?
Yes, yes, it is. I'm so glad
Oh, well, a
you've come
generous
in.
portion for an hungry copper. Then maybe we'll talk. Go on at the double, I'm famished.
Oh,
Have you finished, Sergeant?
Ah, thank you, Miss Sarah. Lovely bit of beef.
Glad you enjoyed it. Elsie's bringing the coffee.
Why, you seem to be your last customer. Hope I ain't holding you up.
No, we won't start serving tea till about 3.
your coffee, Sergeant.
Ah, thank you, Miss Elsie.
Oh, Elsie, while I remember, as it's half day tomorrow, I promised to help with the bazaar. Will you be going out?
I don't think so. Why?
Well, that new mixer should be arriving. I'd like someone here to take delivery.
I'll be in,
Fine.
Sarah.
Then I can let Millie go off.
Well, Miss Elsie, you found a solution to your fire story yet?
Yes and no. You remember that lie you spoke about?
Uh-huh.
Well, I had an idea about that. In my story, the wife purchases a cake on the day of the fire, after the husband was supposed to have gone up to town. It was a new kind of cake, but the husband at some later date remarks on its flavour. Now, that would prove he was at the house at the time of the fire, wouldn't it?
Not bad. Well, it might be difficult to convince a jury.
But if one could prove he got a prescription for sleeping tablets, though he was a sound sleeper,
Possessing sleeping tablets doesn't mean he administered them.
but if one also had a witness to prove he made daily inquiries about the weather, on the pretense of his wife's rheumatism,
You still have to prove criminal intent. I mean, that merely sounds like the action of a considerate husband. Ah, you need something more definite than that. No, I don't want to encroach upon your territory.
oh no, please do.
And I think some of these ideas are jolly good, but you know where the weakness lies, don't you?
No.
Those curtains. You see, cottons vary so. I mean, and no matter how odd it was, you could never be certain they'd catch a light.
Unless one experimented.
Still a bit risky. No, what's needed is some really inflammable material. Say a piece of loose weave cellulose net.
Loose weave net.
Well, after all, I mean, it's pretty commonplace. If it was hung in front of the other curtains, no one would give it a second glance. And it wouldn't leave any trace.
Yes, that's certainly an idea.
And then to be double sure, it'd need impregnating with something highly inflammable. Not petrol or anything like that, but something odorless. Now, let me see. An ideal thing would be sodium chlorate.
Sodium chlorate?
Yes, it's used in weed killers. Oh, you can buy it neat without prescription. I bet there's a tin in almost every other garden shed.
Yes.
Oh, I can see I've given you something to think about, eh? So I think I'll take my leave now. Oh, just one other thing. What about motive?
Motive?
Well, one doesn't usually commit murder without rhyme or reason. Is the husband hard up?
No, I imagined him being quite well off.
Well, then, if it's not revenge or fear, that leaves you with the other woman.
The other woman?
Well, you know the sort of thing. The sympathetic friend in the background. Somebody he can escape to when the wife gets too much for him.
Would a man really commit murder for another woman?
Would he? You're joking, aren't you? Well, what better motive than the eternal triangle? Why, sometimes the other woman doesn't even know it's happening. The husband waits until the wife's dead and buried before he drops a hint.
Really?
Oh, I see. I made you blush. Oh, well, I hope I haven't been too forward.
No, of course not, sir.
Well, it's time I was moving. Well, I hope the book goes well. But if it sells, I shall expect my 10%. Ah, afternoon, Miss Sarah.
Oh, good afternoon, Sergeant Foster. Oh, Elsie.
I'm just going out. I'm going to get my coat, sir. I'm going across to the draper's.
What for?
Well, the sun bothers me when I'm at the typewriter. I thought I'd get a few yards of net curtaining.
Net? Well, that's not terribly practical. Why don't you get some casement cloth?
No, Sarah. I'd rather have the net.
Afternoon, Miss Pierce. Something I can get you?
Yes, Mr. Potter. I want a few yards of loose weave cellulose net.
Nothing like knowing what you mean or what you want, is there?
Have you such a thing?
I'm afraid we don't carry a very large selection of net curtaining. Funnily enough, you're the second one who's asked for loose weave in the past month.
Oh? Well, forgive me for being curious, but I'd hate to have the same curtains as my next-door neighbour who asked for the net. Can you remember?
No, not offhand. My new girl, Connie, was serving. Connie?
Did you call, Mr. Potter?
Here a minute.
Yes, Mr. Potter.
That inquiry you had for loose weave net, who asked for it?
Loose weave net?
I was in the stock room at the time.
How long ago?
Oh, 3 or 4 weeks.
It was the first week I was here. I didn't know whether I was coming or going.
Well, I remember I told you to tell the customer to try a theatrical place, Harrington's of Retford. They usually stock loose weed.
Yes, I remember that. But I can't remember the customer.
Oh, never mind. What was the place you mentioned, Harrington's?
That's about the nearest, bar going up to London.
Sarah.
You didn't have any luck, I see.
No, I shall be going into Retford tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow? But you were going to take delivery of the mixer.
Oh, was I? Oh, dear. And I've already bought my ticket.
Oh, well, you might have told me. I've already given Millie the afternoon off.
Perhaps she'll stay if you ask her.
Oh, really, Elsie? You are the limit.
Yes, ma'am. I hope you.
I wonder if you can.
Harringtons are renowned for their selection, madam. What are you doing? Gilbert and Sullivan? Or would it be a play?
I beg your pardon?
What costumes are you looking for?
Oh, no. No, it's material I want.
Over here, madam. Taffeta, rayon, damask, nylon, silk, satin. We carry over 5,000 lines.
5,000? Well, no, actually, all I require is some net.
Net. What kind of net?
Loose weave. Do you stock such things?
Of course, madam. This is what you had in mind, madam?
Well, I'm not terribly sure. You see, I believe a friend of mine bought some here, and I'd rather like to get the same. It looks very nice in their window.
I'm sure. When did they purchase it?
Oh, within the last month or so, I think. But I don't suppose you can remember all your customers.
On the contrary, madam, we have records of every transaction. Of course, most of our customers are trade or professional. But I suppose I could look among the retail receipts.
Oh, would you? That would be most kind of you.
A moment, I'll just get the receipt book. Here we are. What was the name?
My name?
No, madam, not your name, your friend.
Oh, I see, yes. Everett.
Everett. Yes.
You found it?
I believe so. I haven't the original letter, but as you can see, the receipt is addressed to V. Everett.
V?
Yes. Is that your friend?
What? Oh, yes. Well, on second thoughts, I don't think this is quite right for me. I'll leave it if you don't mind.
As you wish.
Good afternoon, Miss Pierce. Looking for Sergeant Foster?
Oh, yes. Yes, Constable, I was. Is he about?
Oh, you just missed him, but he should be back shortly. Can I take a message?
No, but I would like a word with him as soon as possible. Perhaps you'd tell him I called.
Oh, certainly. I'll put a note on his desk right away.
Oh, Millie, it's you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, dear, I do wish you wouldn't creep about like that. What are you doing up here?
The laundry came. I put yours in your room. This is for Mr. Everett.
Is he in?
No, he went out after lunch. The mixer arrived.
Did it?
Oh, it isn't half smashing, all red and white with ever so many gadgets. Well, I'd better get rid of Mr. Everett's laundry, I suppose.
No, I'll put it in his room.
Oh,
Millie.
right, Ma'am.
Oh, thank you. You can go off now.
Oh, thank you, Ma'am. See you tomorrow.
Mr. Everett? Mr. Everett? Oh. Now I wonder. A deed box. Why, it's open. Oh!
Elsie, what are you doing? That deed box was in the drawer when I left.
Oh, I suppose you've destroyed the receipt.
Receipt? What receipt?
Don't pretend. You know very well. The receipt from Harrington's for the cellulose net. You've gone quite pale, Mr. Everett. It's always something of a shock to be found out, isn't it?
Found out?
Is that all you can say? Not that I want to listen.
No, please.
Kindly let me pass, Mr. Everett.
No.
I asked you to let me pass.
Elsie, please, I must talk to you.
I see no point.
Look, I can guess what you must be thinking. You imagine that...
Imagine? Really? Do you deny that you lied to the police and the coroner about the time you drove up to London?
No.
Or that you obtained a prescription for sleeping tablets when you sleep perfectly well without them?
You obviously know, so how can I deny it?
Or that for weeks you inquired daily about the weather?
That's perfectly true.
And that you purchased 6 yards of loose weave netting and impregnated it with weed killer to make it more inflammable?
That I do deny.
But I saw you with the tin of sodium chloride.
But I didn't purchase it.
Your name was on the receipt for the
No,
note.
I can...
Don't deny it. I saw it with my own eyes.
Look, I don't blame you for what you're thinking.
That's most kind
If
of you.
only you'll listen to me, just for a few moments. Look, I'll move away from the door. It's unlocked. You're free to leave whenever you like. But just a few minutes of your time, that's all I ask. Please.
All right.
Thank you. Well, you remember I told you that Nora and I didn't get on very well together?
Yes?
Well, that was something of an understatement. The marriage was a terrible mistake. I'd have left her, but frankly, I couldn't bear the thought of a divorce and all the scandal. And if you ask why she stayed, I can tell you in one word. Money.
But I thought she was quite well off.
Oh, believe me, when I married her, I wasn't concerned one way or another. But she deliberately lied to me about her income. The fact is, she hadn't a penny. There was little doubt why she married me. You were quite right. On the day of the fire, I was at the cottage for lunch.
Then why did you...
All in good time. After lunch, Nora went across to the hatch to pour out the coffee. There was a mirror facing the table, and as I looked up, I saw her drop some tablets into one of the cups. I imagined it was her saccharin, but as she turned, I realized that my cup was the one with the tablets.
She'd handed you the wrong cup.
So I thought. I suppose I could have said something, but it would only have led to an argument. Nora was never one to admit a mistake.
Then what did you do?
Well, there was no dessert, and she asked me if I'd like some gatto, the walnut cream. I said yes, and while she was cutting it, I swapped the coffee cups.
She didn't notice?
No. She suggested we take our coffee into the lounge. It was rather close in there, I remember. I wanted to get off to my board meeting, but Nora insisted I rested for a few minutes. We both sat there without a word, when suddenly she dropped off. I was very grateful and crept out and left for London. During the drive, I reached for my handkerchief and found a small tube in my pocket.
What tube?
Nora's sleeping tablets.
Mr. Rayton said he supplied them to you?
He did. Nora rowed with everyone, including the local GP. Phenobarbital's on prescription, so I had to pretend they were for me. It was the same with the weather report. She got a sudden mania about her health. If I didn't check, she wouldn't step out of the house.
But what were the sleeping tablets doing in your pocket?
You may well ask. I'd seen them on her dressing table earlier on. It was full. But now, 3 tablets were missing.
What?
I didn't know what to think. Then after the board meeting, I received the message from Sergeant Foster. He didn't mention Nora, but during the drive back, I felt uneasy. It suddenly struck me that Nora might still have been in the cottage. Understand, I was confused. Supposing those sleeping tablets were meant for me. She drugged my coffee and planted the tablets in my pocket to look as though I'd taken them myself. And the fire wasn't just an accident. I realized that if traces of phenobarbital were found in Nora's stomach, it might prove very embarrassing, to say the least. That's why I lied about the time. Everything was destroyed in the fire except that old deed box. Nora used to keep odd bits of correspondence in it. I didn't look through it until after the inquest. I knew about the sodium chloride, but it wasn't until I found this that I was certain Nora had tried to murder me.
Murder you?
Yes. Look at this.
What is it?
It's a brief note from Harrington's confirming her order for the cellulose net.
But the receipt was marked out to you, V. Everett.
Her name was Venora. I called her Nora for short.
Venora? But then, why didn't you go to the police?
Well, what purpose would it serve? Another inquest, more questions, reporters? Besides, I'd have had to admit I lied about having lunch at the cottage. And after all, if I could lie about one thing, I could lie about the tablets, the weather reports, and even that order for the net.
Yes.
I'll make no bones about it, Elsie. I was afraid. I don't say I would have been found guilty, but there was always that possibility.
Yes.
There is still, if you go to the police. But that's up to you. I shan't stop you. You're free to leave whenever you like. Come in.
Oh, yes, Millie. What is it?
Sergeant Foster's on the phone, ma'am. Said you left a message for him.
Oh, yes. Well, look, Millie, apologize for me, would you? Tell him it wasn't frightfully important. I'll call him back later.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you, Mr. Everett.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I still think you were very foolish to lie to the priest, and if you'll take my advice, you'll dispose of that weed killer.
I have.
But keep that note from Harrington's. It proves you're innocent. And if my novel's published, someone may put two and two together.
But surely you're not going to...
Oh, don't worry, I'll change the names. Besides, everyone's bound to say it's far-fetched, but I'm sure it'll sell.
I've no doubt. Well, thank you again, Elsie. And if there's anything I can do for you at any time, you won't hesitate to ask, will you?
Well, just watch over my dahlias, that's all. And, oh, there is just one other little thing.
Yes?
Please don't think I insist by any means. I'd hate you to feel that, but my sister's terribly anxious to acquire that little plot next door.
Oh, she can have it.
Oh, no, we'll pay the market price, Mr. Everett.
Please, Elsie. Not Mr. Everett.
Oh.
Victor.
Now, Elsie, I need your signature.
Here?
Here and here.
Yeah. It's terribly exciting, isn't it?
Fine. Now, this can go straight off to the solicitors. And the builders should be able to start early next month.
Oh, I'm so pleased. I can't tell you.
It wasn't easy. Mr. Everett was a hard nut to crack. I had to fight every inch of the way.
Did you?
But finally, I got him down to 200.
How clever of you.
It's a good job one of us has a head for business.
Oh, it certainly is. I have to hand it to you, Sarah. Oh, you're the practical one.
That was The Weather for Murder by Philip Levine, in which you heard Marie Ney as Elsie Pierce and Barbara Cooper as Sarah Pierce. Mr. Rayton was played by Derek Blomfield, Millie by Peggy Butt, Sergeant Foster Julian Summers, Mrs. Clark Vivian Chatterton, Mr. Everett Derek Birch, Mrs. Everett Stella Tanner, Miss Brown Zibba Mays, Coroner John Brining, Mr. Jenkins William Edel, Mr. Potter Louis Stringer, Connie Angela Piper, and the costumier Donald McKillie.
The Blind Barber, first published in October 1934, is a detective story by American writer John Dixon Carr, featuring his series Detective Gideon Fell. It is a mystery novel of the type known as a whodunit. This novel is generally felt to be the most humorous of Dr. Fell's adventures.
Is it?
I'm afraid it is. Blood. No doubt about that.
Oh.
Now, easy, baby. Take it easy.
But what's happened to the girl? Where is she now? And why did someone make up the bunk with clean sheets and blankets?
I don't know why, but... Come on, Doctor. Let's lift the mattress.
Very well.
Oh, my.
Good God.
What is it?
A razor. An old-fashioned cutthroat razor.
Beautifully made. The handle's ebony with a design in chased silver. The head and shoulders of a man with a razor in his fist. A barber.
There's something round his eyes. A bandage.
A blind barber. Oh, that's horrible.
Yes. The blind barber has been at work tonight.
We present The Blind Barber, a Dr. Fell mystery by John Dixon Carr, dramatized for radio by Peter Ligg, with Donald Sinden as Dr. Fell.
extracts from notes made by me, Gideon Fell, returning from an American lecture tour on March the 4th, 1938, on board the SS Victoria. The voyage out had been uneventful, but the return journey was packed with incident, so I thought it best to cable Superintendent Hadley, asking him to meet me in Southampton at the offices of the Port Authority.
That's the last time I let you go gallivanting on your own.
Oh, come now, it's hardly my fault.
Oh, no. You should never have got involved with that young lady. What was her name again?
Peggy Glenn. And I did not get involved, you put it. Then we got into conversation, briefly, on the voyage out. She was on her way to meet her fiancé in New York, and we found we were both coming back on the same ship. It was just an amusing coincidence, nothing more.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. And by that time she'd made another friend, a man called Curtis Warren.
Miss Glenn seems to have a talent for making friends. The sociable type, is she?
Oh, yes. So is Curtis. He's coming over from Washington to take up a post in the U.S. Consular Service.
Huh. One of those diplomatic stuffed shirts.
Oh, not at all, no. He's a regular daredevil.
I wonder how long he'll hold down the job.
So do I. He only got it because his uncle is a big noise on Capitol Hill. But there was one famous name on board. I expect you've heard of Lord Sturton.
The one they call the Hermit of Jermyn Street. Has no friends, collects rare jewellery.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. He had been in Washington to buy a particular item that was up for auction. Curtis's Uncle Waldo happened to know the old boy. He told Curtis, and Curtis told the rest of us. We managed to catch a glimpse of his lordship when he came aboard. A doddery old goat with side whiskers cursing everybody in sight, while his secretary steered him up the gangplank. And in his luggage was his latest prize, a fabulous pendant, the Emerald Elephant. I'd say it was priceless, except that it had a price, and old Sturton paid it. But, unfortunately...
Oh, don't tell me it's been stolen.
Oh, yes, that's one thing I do know.
And you know who stole it?
Yes, I did.
What?
Well, in a way we all did. After that, things got rather confused.
I think you'd better begin at the beginning.
Yes. It began on the 4th day out. I'd been taking a stroll on deck. The wind was getting up and there were storm clouds gathering. And then I happened to meet Peggy.
Dr. Fell! I was hoping I might find you.
Splendid! We can keep each other company.
I'm trying to find Curtis. Have you seen him?
Well, not since this morning. Why, is something wrong?
Oh, we arranged to meet for tea in the lounge, but he never turned up. I hope he's all right.
Perhaps his watch stopped.
But it's not like him to... Oh, here's someone.
Excuse me, Doctor. Could I have a word, sir?
Certainly. What is it?
Mr. Warren would like to see you in his cabin, sir.
What's happened? Is he all right?
Well, no serious damage, madam, but I think someone hit him. I left him sitting on the floor with a towel around his head and a bit of cinema film in his hands, swearing something handsome.
Come in.
Kurt! Oh, your poor head. Let me see.
Oh, don't touch. It's sore as hell.
I'm sure it is. What's been going on?
Who did it? Who attacked you?
I don't know. That's the trouble. Mind you, I didn't even know I had the darn thing. I thought I'd got rid of it.
Look, lie down on the bunk and we'll fetch the ship's doctor.
I haven't got time for that. See this bit of film? Hold it up to the light. What do you see?
Not a great deal. There seems to be a dignified, white-haired old gentleman in a dinner jacket.
His mouth's open. Is he making a speech?
And how? That's my Uncle Waldo. It's a home movie I shot at a party for his friends, senators and such like. They were knocking back the booze and making speeches. When it got to Uncle Waldo's turn, he just let rip.
You mean he told them what he really thought?
Well, didn't he just? First the government, then he got on to world politics and gave his opinion about the top men in Germany, France, and Italy, with advice on foreign policy, telling them what they could do with their battleships. Well, don't laugh. This could start another war. And in the hands of a determined blackmailer.
You're right. It's no laughing matter. Someone deliberately stole the film.
Let me tell you what happened after the party.
I should think Uncle Waldo had a hangover.
And then some. When he got on the phone, I said I'd send him the film so he could destroy it. But, well, I wasn't at my best that morning. Somehow I got the cans of films mixed up. I sent him some cute shots of animals in the Bronx Zoo. Only I didn't discover that till today.
Discover it? How?
I had to go to the radio room. There was a cable for me. The radio operator read it out. He said it was either in code or someone had gone crazy. It said, "Checking film, very anxious. They look like bears. Where is real?"
2 reels?
Different spelling.
Oh.
At first I couldn't make it out, but when it hit me, I ran down to check the films I'd brought with me. And I found someone in here opening up the cans.
But you didn't see who it was?
The curtain was drawn over the porthole. It was pretty dark. But I grabbed the film and hung on like grim death. That's when he bopped me over the head with a blackjack. When I came to, he'd gone. I had half the film in my hands, but what he's got is still dynamite.
You must tell the captain. Get him to search the whole ship.
No, I must get the film back without anyone finding out. I've got to find the guy that stole it. But how did he know about the film? I didn't even know about it myself.
That cablegram. The operator read it aloud. Was anyone else there who might have heard it?
Sure, there were other people around, but they couldn't possibly have understood it.
Unless someone else knew that film existed. Someone on board this ship who overheard the message and decided to take a chance.
Do you think he might come back to get the rest of the film? Oh, if he does, I'll be ready for him.
That's right. We'll tell everyone we found you lying unconscious. We can say you'd been drinking, and you fell over and hit your head.
Great. There goes my career in the diplomatic service.
I was only trying to help.
No, wait. You could say I fell over when the ship started to roll. It's getting pretty rough now. Say that I must be left alone, undisturbed. Then he might try to sneak back.
Well, suppose he does. Well, how will we catch him?
There's an empty cabin next door. We can lie low in there till we hear him. Then I'll go out and beat the living daylights out of him. How about that?
I had grave doubts about this plan, and I said as much. But my companions were determined, and in the end, I agreed to help them. At dinner time, we left Curtis in the empty cabin. We had been invited to join the captain's table, but by now there was a gale blowing. There were only 4 of us at the table. Peggy and I, Captain Whistler, and a Mr. Kyle, a Harley Street brain surgeon. Peggy apologized on Curtis's behalf and gave them her version of events.
Sorry to hear that. Knocked himself out, eh?
Oh, yes, Captain. You shouldn't keep the floors so highly polished. It's very dangerous.
I hope you're not suggesting we're responsible for the accident. Our shipping line has an excellent safety record.
Really? Well, what about the night the SS Gigantic went down?
Perhaps you could lower your voice a little. We don't want to start a panic, do we?
But in a rough sea like this, accidents could easily happen. Don't you agree, Mr. Kyle?
Yes, we seem to be in for some dirty weather.
Though they do say the skipper of the Gigantic was drunk when he hit that poor whale. I hope you're not a heavy drinker, Captain.
Steady on, my dear.
No, Miss Glenn, I'm most certainly not.
Oh, good. It's just that you seem a bit jumpy.
Jumpy?
I expect you're anxious about Lord Sturton and his emerald elephant, and I don't blame you. After all, if there were a jewel thief on board planning to steal it, as the man in charge, I suppose you'd be held responsible.
We're not discussing my problems. We were talking about Mr. Warren. Were you there when the accident happened, Dr. Fell?
No, but I saw him soon afterwards, and he did have a nasty lump on the back of his head.
I trust it didn't do any serious damage. What do you think, Mr. Kyle? You're a specialist in...
I'm a surgeon, not a physician. But from all I've heard, it sounds to me like a mild case of Legensis pullibus.
Oh, dear.
I dare say he'll soon recover.
Well, I certainly hope so. And now I must leave you. If you'll excuse me. Duty call.
Yes, of course, Captain.
A word of advice. You shouldn't tease the captain. I don't think he appreciates it.
I did try to warn you.
And by sheer chance, you touched him on the raw. It seems there really is a criminal on board.
Really? What makes you think so?
The captain told me before you joined us he'd just received a cable. It mentioned a suspect responsible for the Stelly job in Washington and the McGee killing. The FBI believe he's traveling under an alias, and they advised him to keep an eye on possible suspects.
Because of Sturton's priceless emerald?
The captain offered to keep it in his safe, but the old boy's famously eccentric and stubborn as a mule. However, I think the captain's trying to persuade him to change his mind.
Doctor, don't you think we'd better go and tell Kurt... I mean, make sure he's all right?
Oh, yes. Perhaps we should.
I don't know anything about the McGee killing, but I heard about the Stelly affair because the British Embassy was involved.
Oh? Tell me.
Stelly was a well-known British jeweller, first-class chap, designed necklaces for royalty. He was staying in Washington, and the British ambassador asked him to reset a necklace for his wife. He was found, some hours later, propped up against a lamppost, with the back of his head smashed in, and no sign of the necklace.
So Curtis got off lightly. Just a nasty headache.
But he wasn't attacked by a jewel thief. Your blackmailer only wanted a reel of film.
Well, so we thought. But when Peggy and I rejoined Curtis in the cabin, he disagreed.
I bet this guy came across my film by accident. He was probably looking for valuables.
But you haven't got any jewellery.
For all he knew, I could have had a pair of platinum cufflinks. Oh, wait till I get my hands on him.
Don't be silly. The man's dangerous.
I thought I heard. What? The door to your cabin. It opened, but I didn't hear it shut. What was that?
Oh, sounds like a girl. I thought she said...
What?
I know it's crazy, but it sounded like she was calling me. Come on. There, lying in the doorway of my cabin.
Warren. Mr. Curtis. Warren.
She's passed out.
Who is she?
How do I know? She looks like she could be Greek, like the profile on an old Greek coin.
Yes, it's the same method. A blow to the back of the head.
You don't mean she's...
Oh, no. It's just a slight concussion, I think.
Give me a hand, Doc. Let's get her into the empty cabin.
Right.
1, 2, 3, hop!
Quite a way.
That's better. I've made her as comfortable as I can, but she's still bleeding a little. Kurt, you must fetch the ship's doctor.
But why was she trying to get into my cabin?
Are you quite sure you don't know her?
I'm certain. Except I've got a feeling I've seen her before somewhere. But I can't remember.
And that was your cabin door shutting.
Damn, he's come back. There he goes.
Who is it?
Whoever he is, he's got my can of film. Come on.
He's going out! On deck!
The ship was pitching violently. Trying to give chase down that lurching, tilting passageway was like being a ball on a pin table. We followed him outside into another world. A world of darkness, gale-force winds, and crashing waves. I tried to warn the others. Be careful! Hang on to the rail! But the wind tore my words away. For a moment I was blinded by stinging spray. But then I saw the outline of a man. Curtis saw him too.
I'll get you this time!
And he launched himself at the villain. The metal tin fell from the man's grasp and skidded across the deck. Peggy caught it just before it rolled overboard. It was half open, and as she peered inside, her face changed.
I don't believe it!
The circular box was not made of tin, but of steel. Inside, on a cushion of white satin, was a green beast with ruby eyes and a golden chain. At that moment, Curtis rejoined us.
What the hell? That's not my film.
No, it's the emerald. But you got the thief.
Sure, right on the button. Lifted him clean off his feet. Well, he's out for the count. And he won't get far. I wedged him under the lifeboat.
Let me see. Oh, dear. What a pity.
Why? Kurt's a hero. He caught the thief.
I'm afraid not. This is Captain Whistler. He must have persuaded Lord Sturton to keep the emerald in the ship safe after... I think he's coming round.
Oh, he'll think I was stealing the elephant. He's never going to believe me.
Don't worry, leave this to me.
What happened? Oh, I think I've broken my jaw. Oh, thieves. Murderers.
Oh, Captain, now, whatever have you been doing? No, don't move. Stay where you are. Have you been drinking again?
No, I have not been drinking. Oh, my head. Oh, stop fussing over me. Where did he go?
Try not to worry. I'm sure it will all be all right.
But where's the box? Where's my elephant?
Your elephant. I knew he'd been drinking.
Then, luckily, some of the crew arrived, and we left the captain to their tender care. But another shock awaited us. When we returned to Curtis's cabin, the rest of his film had gone. And when we looked in the cabin next door, the injured girl had gone too.
But it doesn't make sense. We left her here.
She must have made a pretty swift recovery, unless she was faking it all along.
But why would she?
Suppose she was sent as a decoy to lure us away and give the thief time to get into my cabin.
No. There was nothing fake about her injury.
But the sheets and blankets aren't even creased. It's as if she never existed. Look at the pillows. There isn't a spot of blood on them.
Blood? What's that about blood?
The captain had returned, and he was highly suspicious. We told him as much as we could about the missing girl. I admit it sounded rather improbable, but when Peggy promised we'd help him find the emerald, he brightened up.
Very well, I'm a fair-minded man. I'll give you one more chance.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And so will my Uncle Waldo.
But I'm warning you, you have 24 hours to find that emerald elephant and the vanishing young lady, or there'll be trouble.
At least we didn't tell him about the missing film. Now all we got to do is find it.
And the elephant. Oh, but that won't take long.
Ah, yes. Where did you hide the jewel box?
Oh, that was easy. As soon as the captain started to come round, I posted it inside the nearest open porthole.
In someone's cabin? Wasn't that a little risky?
No. When we find the number of the cabin, we just...
You mean you don't know the number?
Don't be silly. They don't have the numbers on the outside. But it must have been either 405 or 406. Unless it was 407. Or 408.
My cabin's 407, and this is 408.
Well, then it's either 405 or 406. Tomorrow we'll check the passenger list to see who's in those cabins. And then we'll look for the missing girl. She can't have gone far.
I hope you're right.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
What do you mean?
You're wondering why someone went to so much trouble to change the sheets and blankets. You think there might have been more blood later.
You mean someone came back into the cabin and...
Let's get this bedding off. Pillows, blankets. I want to take a look at the mattress. I hope very much that I'm wrong, but... Dear God.
Oh, is it...
I'm afraid it is. Blood. No doubt about that.
Easy, baby. Take it easy.
But what's happened to the girl? I mean, where is she now?
I don't know, but... Come on, Doctor. Let's lift the mattress.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Good God.
What is it?
A razor. An old-fashioned cutthroat razor.
Beautifully made. The handle's ebony with a design chased in silver. The head and shoulders of a man, with a razor in his fist. A barber.
There's something round his eyes. A bandage.
A blind barber. Oh, that's horrible.
Yes. The blind barber has been at work tonight.
Well, go on, you can't stop there. What happened next? What did you do?
Nothing. I mean, nothing of any importance. I managed to get hold of the passenger list, and I studied it carefully. Then I went to bed.
You discovered the traces of a terrible murder and you did nothing. Didn't you report it?
Well, what good would that have done? We had no proof, only a very shaky theory, with several gaping holes in it.
But you were taking a gigantic risk. The murderer might have got away.
In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? He'd have had to be an exceptionally strong swimmer. There were 24 hours before the ship docked, and in that time I intended to find the blind barber and hand him over to the authorities. Only it wasn't quite as simple as that.
You amaze me.
Well, besides, once the story got out, it would have swept through the ship like wildfire, starting a panic among the passengers and putting the barber on his guard. However, I did find this passenger list rather interesting.
Well, let's have a look. Which of the two cabins your young lady referred to? The ones where she might have posted the jewel box through the porthole?
Yeah, 405 and 406. As you see, 405 was occupied by two Sisters of Mercy on their way to Rome. And 406...
Mr. I.M. Kyle, the brain surgeon?
Yeah, that's right, yes. Curtis said he would speak to Mr. Kyle, very tactfully, and suggested I might make myself known to the two good ladies. Next morning, when I entered the dining saloon, I found Curtis having breakfast with Mr. Kyle.
Hi there. Come and join us.
Oh, thank you. Good morning to you. And Mr. Kyle?
Perhaps you can enlighten me, Doctor. I can't quite make out what this young man is driving at. Something about a parcel.
Well, a sort of parcel. More of a box. A metallic-type box.
Which he seems to think might have flown into my cabin during the night. He's too polite to say so, of course, but I think he suspects me of stealing it.
Oh, no, nothing of the sort. I just thought you might have overlooked it, that's all.
Overlooked a metal box crashing into my cabin? It's true I'm a sound sleeper, but I don't think I'd miss a thing like that.
So you sleep soundly. You weren't disturbed by any other noises during the night? Any nocturnal toings and froings?
Not a thing. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful, but as I've finished my breakfast...
Oh, before you go, I've been trying to remember where I've seen you before, and I think I've got it. Yesterday in the wireless room. Weren't you there, waiting in line?
I sent a cable to my registrar at the hospital, but I don't see what that has got to do with you.
Nothing at all. I'd like to get these little things cleared up. You know how it is.
I'm glad I was able to set your mind at rest. Good day, Doctor.
Good morning. That's what you call handling things tactfully, is it?
Well, he's obviously our man, isn't he? He was there when the radio operator read out Uncle Waldo's cable. He's the one who stole my film. And now he's got the darned emerald as well.
He's one of Scotland's leading medical men. He's hardly likely to moonlight as a thief and a murderer.
Oh, no? Remember Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
I also remember Dr. Jekyll was a character in fiction. And Kyle has an alibi.
What?
I've been to see the Sisters of Mercy. They're next door to Mr. Kyle, and they hardly stepped a wink, because the wretched man snored all night long. And Peggy couldn't have slipped the box into their cabin, because they keep the porthole shut for fear of drafts. They're in the clear, and so is Kyle.
It must be a mistake. They must have heard somebody snoring in a different cabin. I tell you, Kyle's guilty.
Beg pardon, gentlemen. Captain Whistler's compliments, and he'd like to see you in his stateroom as soon as possible.
The sooner the better. I've got a few things to say to the captain myself.
I tried to persuade him not to go at it like a bull at a gate, but the moment we walked in, he poured out the whole story. Apart from the details of Uncle Waldo's cinema debut, of course. When he'd finished, the captain told the purser to search the ship from stem to stern for any traces of the missing girl. Then he turned to us, looking very grim.
I take it you have not recovered the missing emerald.
Well, no, not yet.
Pity. When I find the ruffian who attacked me, he's going to regret it.
Yes, I'm sure he is. But I can tell you who's got the emerald right now.
Curtis, I really don't advise you to...
You know who he is? Are you sure?
Absolutely. I've just been talking to him. Mr. Kyle, the so-called brain surgeon.
Now, just one moment.
You think so too, eh? Mm-hmm. So do I.
I beg your pardon?
This cable arrived half an hour ago from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Victim auto accident picked up outside Washington, Jan 25th. In coma till yesterday, still incoherent, but claims to be passenger aboard your ship. Federal agent thinks also, medical specialist on your ship, man responsible for Skelly and McGee jobs. Very important person, must be no mistake.
Medical specialist. What did I tell you?
There's no other medical man on board except the ship's doctor, and I've known him for years.
I knew it. I knew Kyle was the guy who bumped me over the head in my cabin.
He did what? I thought you fell and hit your head accidentally.
Oh, sure, I forgot. Yeah, it was an accident.
Mr. Warren, I gave you the benefit of the doubt last night, and now you're playing games with me again. I warn you, if this is a practical joke...
You gotta believe me. Doctor, give me the razor.
No, Doctor, please don't give him the razor.
The razor's in my cabin. I would hardly carry it about with me.
Well, let's go and get it.
Oh, thank heavens. Come in.
Excuse me, sir. But you did say I was to come back as soon as possible.
Oh, yes, the passenger list. Well?
I put all my men onto it. Everyone's accounted for. Every passenger, every member of the crew. There was nobody hurt last night.
But we're not looking for someone hurt. We're talking about a girl who's missing. A girl who's been murdered.
No, sir. We checked the entire list. There's nobody missing. They're all present and correct.
Right, that's enough. That's all I need to know. Either you two are lying or you're insane. And if I have any more trouble, I'll have you both locked up. Now get out. Both of you. Get out!
With as much dignity as possible, we left the stateroom and rejoined Peggy, trying to make sense of these inexplicable events. We felt sure the girl had been quietly disposed of overboard, but we couldn't prove it. That was when I decided to cable Scotland Yard, asking for your assistance, my dear chap. I scribbled out a message, and Peggy took it up to the radio room.
There you are. London are reading it already.
Oh, thank you so much. You've been very helpful. Could I just ask one more question?
Of course you can. Fire away.
You know Mr. Warren? You had a cable for him yesterday from Washington.
I remember. I had to read it out to him.
Yes, but can you remember who else was here? He said there were other people waiting.
That's right. We were pretty busy. I think Mr. Kyle was here, and someone else. A girl.
Who was she? Did she give her name?
No, she didn't stay long. I think she wanted to send a message, because she had her hands full of papers, but she must have changed her mind, because next time I looked around, she'd gone.
I went back to try and persuade the captain we were neither mad nor mischievous. I even took the razor with me, but it seemed that he'd already changed his mind.
Yes, I dare say you're right.
So you agree that this stain upon the blade is...
Just put it away, will you? Perhaps I was a little hasty. As it happens, I've been presented with some new evidence.
Evidence?
One of the deckhands discovered something hidden inside a cupboard on the games deck, where they keep the quoits and shuffleboard and so on.
What did he discover?
A bundle of sheets, blankets, pillows, all heavily stained with blood. So I'm inclined to believe the story you told me.
What do you propose to do about it?
I think perhaps we should join forces to try to solve these problems. First of all, you must come with me to see Lord Sturton, who's threatening to sue me for the loss of that damned elephant. I want you as a witness to explain that I was the victim of a ruthless attack by an unknown assailant. And once that's sorted out, we can try to find the missing passenger who isn't missing.
I didn't care for the captain's order of priorities, but I had no wish to antagonize him any further. When we entered Lord Sturton's suite, we heard him in his secretary's room dictating a letter.
Kirkwood, solicitors. Oh, dash it. I know it's King's Birchmore, but what's the number? No, wait a moment. Must have it in here. Ah, Captain. This is an unexpected pleasure. Am I to understand that you found the missing emerald? Well, not exactly. I'm sure you appreciate that these things take time. But if you'll just be patient, I've no doubt we shall recover it eventually. Ha! In that case, I withdraw my remarks. Your arrival may be unexpected, but it is certainly not a pleasure. Now, let's be frank. You haven't found the emerald, and you've no hope of finding it. So why don't you say so? If you'll just allow me to explain... No, I will not. No intention of listening to any more rubbish. And that's what it is, rubbish. That's all you have to say for yourself. You can go away and stop wasting my time.
Yes, but your lordship, you remember I said I would produce a witness who can testify that I was not to blame in any way. Isn't that right, Doctor?
No, yes, indeed. Yes, I can, certainly.
No, just one moment. I've never seen this gentleman before. How can I be expected to accept his evidence, huh?
Allow me to introduce you. This is Dr. Gideon Fell, a renowned expert in the field of criminal investigation.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Exactly.
Neither would I. However, you claim to have been a witness to the theft of the emerald?
Certainly. And I can assure you the captain was not responsible.
Of course he's responsible. Here's his signature on the receipt he gave me. And that'll be proof positive when the case comes to court.
But Dr. Fell saw the man who attacked me.
Oh. Are you prepared to identify the culprit?
Well, no. It was very dark at the time.
Yes, I thought as much. Never mind, Captain. I've enjoyed myself long enough. It's time to end this charade. Huh? I shall not be taking you to court. The joke's over.
Joke? But the emerald elephant...
He's safe and sound. Look, I have it here. There, you see?
Good heavens. Well, may I ask how it was recovered?
I neither know, nor do I care. Someone came in while I was out of the room. I found it on that table over there. Well, here's your receipt, Captain. I shall take care of my own valuables in future. Good day to you.
You're very quiet today. What's wrong?
Oh, it's just... I keep thinking about that girl.
Me too. But thinking isn't going to bring her back. No one will ever find her. Not now.
Oh, that's a horrible thing to say. Almost as if you were glad that she's gone.
Peggy.
You know who she was, don't you?
Of course not. What makes you think...
You said you'd seen her before. And I heard her calling you. She knew your name.
Look, I've had enough of this. We both know Kyle's the blind barber. I'm going to have it out with him. Right now.
Wait, I'm coming with you.
Mr. Kyle, I want to... Oh.
He's not here.
Wouldn't you know it? Just when I was going to clear this up once and for all.
Shush! Look! Over there.
Over where?
The porthole's half open, and it's right above that cabin trunk. If I popped the jewel box in, it could have fallen behind the trunk.
Here, let me help you.
What did I tell you?
Better make sure. Open it up.
The emerald elephant.
Give me that. Don't worry, nobody will ever know we took it.
You think not?
Oh.
Captain, I can explain.
So you were the thieves, after all. I should have known. But why did you have to steal the elephant twice?
I finally managed to persuade the captain to let you take charge of the case, my dear chap. I told him that you would arrest the blind barber.
I'm glad you have such confidence in me, but...
Doctor, we've been sent to find you.
Now, come in, both of you. Hadley, let me introduce Miss Glenn and Mr. Warren.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've heard a lot about you.
I bet. The local cops are on board, and the inspector would like to see you now.
Ah, very well. By the way, Kurt, you'd better have this.
My can of film.
It was found in the murderer's cabin. I think it's all there. No doubt you'll dispose of it safely.
Oh, I will. But you said the murderer. Who?
Why, the imposter who claimed to be Lord Sturton. The only person who filled all the requirements for the blind barber.
But the missing girl...
His lordship's secretary, Hilda Cooper. We saw her come on board with him.
But I never met her. How did she know my name?
She was in the radio room, waiting to send some cables for her employer, when you...
Of course! The radio operator said she had her hands full of papers.
Yes, but she was still around. You heard her taking dictation after that girl was killed.
I blame myself. We heard Sturton apparently dictating to her in the next room. But we didn't actually see her. Neither did the purser. Oh, by the way, Peggy, There's one small point that puzzles me. On the voyage out, you were wearing an engagement ring. Now you're not. Why is that?
Well, as a matter of fact, while I was in New York, I broke off the engagement.
Thank you. Come along, Hadley. Let's go.
Right, after you.
Kurt, I'm sorry if I was suspicious, but...
I'm not sorry. I'm the happiest guy on earth.
Inspector Jennings, Superintendent Hadley.
How do you do, sir?
Inspector. And this is?
He won't give his name, sir. He says he wants to be called Nemo.
Nemo?
We've already met. Nemo, as in nobody.
You're surprised at the change of voice, huh? Yeah, well, it's a relief to drop the limey accent. Now, Doctor, I've enjoyed myself long enough. It's time to end the charade.
Yes, if you're willing to talk.
Oh, he's talkative. The past half hour, he's told me everything. I've got a notebook full.
Yeah, but you'll never prove any of it. Ever since the night they dragged Sturton out of that pile-up in Washington, I've had all the luck.
What do you mean?
Oh, don't you see? I'm a dead ringer for Sturton. I fooled everyone. Yeah, everyone except you, Doctor.
But you were the only possible suspect. For one thing, we knew somebody was impersonating a very important man. The cable said so.
It also said he was posing as a medical man.
No. The snag with cables is that there's no punctuation. Now, here's the message as we read it. Federal agent thinks also. Medical specialist on your ship. Man responsible for Skelly and McGee jobs. Now, put in a few commas, and you get another version. Federal agent thinks... Also, medical specialist, on your ship, man responsible for Skelly and McGee jobs. That's the specialist at the hospital where Lord Sturton was recovering. It struck me as a coincidence that Sturton was in Washington to buy the Emerald, and I wondered if he might have heard rumours about a certain film made at a private party.
Yeah, well, he didn't. I heard the story from one of the waiters. And when I stepped into his lordship's shoes, I thought... Well, it might be kind of fun to get hold of the movie.
With a view to blackmail?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. I enjoy stirring up trouble.
Which you certainly did. When part of the film was stolen, a mysterious girl appeared, trying to warn Curtis Warren. A girl who later vanished.
Yeah, I hired her as my secretary. I was crazy about her. I hope she's rotting in hell.
After you'd killed her, you remade the bed... in order to make it appear that my companions and I were lying. If she were found, she would be traced to you. You couldn't risk an investigation by the police. So I was looking for a man traveling with a female companion. A famous man who collected valuable toys, like the antique razor we found at the scene of the crime.
It wasn't a toy. I cut her throat. That was the best thing. For her, and for me.
Why? Wasn't she your accomplice?
Yes, she could have been. When she told me about the curious cablegram she overheard in the radio room, I decided to let her in on my plan. Well, I couldn't keep up the pretense with her forever. I was going to say, you're in this as deep as I am, so you'd better stick with me, kid. We'll work as a team. But the little bitch wouldn't play. She was too honest. Too honest to live.
Quite so. That was your mistake. You thought she wouldn't be able to resist the easy money. And by that time, she knew too much.
Yeah. I even told her how I'd made a copy of the Emerald. I planned to show it to the customs men and offer them a small fortune in duty. And wait for them to say, sorry, your lordship, you've been had. This Emerald is a fake. That would have been a big joke at my expense. And I'd scream and cuss and give them a handsome tip to keep their mouths shut. Then walk through without paying a penny. Yeah. But it all went wrong. Thanks to those goddamn interfering kids. It all went wrong.
So when the copy got lost, you had to produce the real Emerald, pretending it had been mysteriously returned. And you acted out of character for the first time. You said you didn't know or care how it had been recovered. Lord Sturton would never have said that.
You think not? Yeah. Well, it's too late now. You want to arrest me anyway? Because I'm a ghost.
You're what?
You remember that medicine I took half an hour ago, Inspector, for my weak heart? Eh? It's something I keep by me for emergencies. But now my heart will never trouble me again. You're talking to a ghost. Maybe the blind barber will come back some night with his razor for a surprise visit.
Yes. I was afraid you might try that old trick, which is why I advised Inspector Jennings to change the contents of the medicine bottle.
Why, You're not going to die of poison, Nemo. You're going to hang.
In The Blind Barber by John Dickson Carr, Dr. Gideon Fell was played by Donald Sinden and Superintendent Hadley by John Hartley. Lord Sturton and Nemo, Patrick Allen. Captain Whistler, Clive Swift. Curtis Warren, Mark Leake. Peggy Glenn, Laura Baisley. Mr. Kyle, David Bannerman. Inspector Jennings, Christopher Wright. The ship's steward, Duncan Knowles. The radio operator, Josh Darcy. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The Blind Barber was dramatized for radio by Peter Ling and directed by Enid Williams.
The Black Museum is a radio crime drama program produced by Harry Alan Towers, which was broadcast in the USA on the Mutual Network in 1952. It was then broadcast in Europe in 1953 on Radio Luxembourg, a commercial radio station, and was not broadcast by the BBC until 1991.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London. The Black Museum. A museum of death. Yes, here in the grim stone structure on the Thames, which houses Scotland Yard, is a warehouse of homicide, where everyday objects, a fountain pen, a cufflink, a high-heeled shoe, all are touched by murder. Here's a scarf, torn and ragged, the faded tartan, a cheap reproduction of the honorable colors of the Stuarts, red with green blue crossings and a double-over check of white and yellow. This scarf belonged to Walter Hoffman Piewski, known to the police and his friends in the underworld as the Pike.
There's no doubt about this scarf being his property, Superintendent. He was wearing it when he was sent to Dartmoor 10 years ago.
The description tallies, does it?
Exactly. It's all written down in the prison property book, even to the patch on it.
So the Pike's our man. Right. Well, get him.
And get him they did. And all because of a scarf, appropriately known in Cockney circles as a choker. The Pike applied his choker to a human throat. The throat of the driver of a post office van. The Pike pulled the choker too hard. It was instrumental in convicting him of murder. And that's why it's earned its place here in the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum. In just a moment, you will hear The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. Now, The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
Well, here we are in the Black Museum. Beyond these grey walls, the mighty roar of London never stops. But in here, it's quiet. Come with me under the frieze of death masks, the masks of criminals of bygone days, suspended grimly under the ceiling. Come. To our right and left, rows of murder exhibits, each one carefully labeled. That cut-glass scent spray is attractive even now. Might even take its place on Madame's dressing table, till we stop and read the label written under it. Yes, it's been used to spray anesthetic over the faces of helpless women as a prelude to murder. No sickly aroma now, as we squeeze the bulb. Except for its grim associations, the fragile exhibit is insignificant, easily broken. But it was strong enough to hang the man who used it. There's a brass candlestick. Over there, a taper to go with it. Now, here we are. Here's what we're looking for. The faded tartan scarf. As I take it out of the showcase, I ask you to come with me back to the time when this scarf was new, 15 years ago. Walter Piewski bought it from a stallholder in one of London's famous street markets, Petticoat Lane.
Yes, sir. We'll take one of the scarves, mister.
Right, sir. Finest worsted well wearing. What's your clan? Campbell's, Cameron's, MacDonald or MacLeod? All genuine tartan today down from the islands.
All right. I've bought it already. Don't need to give me that stuff. I'll take this one.
It's the Stuart, and better than that you cannot do. Not half a nicker, not 5 bob, half a crown, and cheap at the price. Thank you very much. Come and get your Scotch chokers from Honest John Mackay. If your neck's warm...
While Honest John continued his honest trade, the pike went about his own particular business. It was less exhausting than John's, and it was work from a public call box. In professional circles, they called it the hospital trick.
Hello? Is that Mrs. Peterson speaking?
Yes, who's that?
The London Hospital here, Mrs. Peterson.
Hospital? Why, what's happened?
Oh, there's no need for immediate alarm, but I'm sorry to say that your husband has met with a serious accident.
Oh, Bill? Is he hurt? Oh, no, what's happened?
He was knocked down by a bus in the Whitechapel Road about half an hour ago.
A mean, crude trick. But more often than not, it worked. While the stricken woman hurried to the hospital to find the husband, who of course was not hurt at all, the pike would visit her house. With the coast clear, he would help himself to whatever he could lay his hands on and get out before the bewildered woman returned. And you notice that the pike could almost camouflage that accent he had. This gift gave him a confidence which was almost his undoing. One time when he and some friends were removing the entire contents of a house while the owners were away on holiday.
What about the piano, Pike? Do we take that? Of course we take everything. Who'd think of moving out and leaving the piano behind, eh?
You'll get us blooming well, won't you, Will? Okay, boys, piano next.
Oh, crikey, the phone. Here, what do we do about that? Let it ring, I suppose. No. Maybe it's someone seen the van outside and checking up. I'd better answer it.
Here, go easy,
Don't worry, Ed. I know my job, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Is that Mr. Wilson?
No, I'm awfully sorry. He won't be back until about 7 o'clock. I'm his brother-in-law. Can I help you?
If your sister's there...
Oh, Julie's just gone out for half an hour. Can I take a message?
Yes, I think you can. I'm her brother. Who the blazes are you?
Quick, boys. Let's get out of here.
Right out.
So the piano was left behind after all. But Pike got away with most of the household belongings and observed, not only were his operations becoming bolder, but he had planned his action carefully. He even knew that Mrs. Wilson's first name was Julie. But he didn't know she had a brother. That must have shaken him, because from then on he changed his tactics. The Pike entered the motor racket. a racket which was to take him in turn from Dartmoor prison to the scaffold. But in his early days as a motor thief, there was still a trace of strange humor about his work. The padlock car was a case in point.
Who's that? Okay, Eddie, it's only me. You wouldn't go reaching for a gun when Pikey walks in on you.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Pike. Gets me nerves.
Well, relax. Now, listen to me. I've got a job for you.
No, I'm laying off for a bit.
Okay, well, who pays the rent?
Oh, I'm only going in for the small stuff.
Well, this is a small job I'm offering you.
What is it, busting into the Bank of England, eh?
No. It's a simple matter of knocking off a nice new motor.
Well, what's the dope?
Well, it's this way. The car belongs to a fellow named Lambert who lives at 14 Graysdyke Crescent. See? He can't get it into the garage beside the house on account of it being too big.
Why didn't the mug measure it before he bought it?
Well, that's not our concern. He locks the car up at night, and I've obtained a duplicate set of keys.
Oh, nice work, work. Yeah, what do you want me in on the job for? You can do it yourself.
Oh, there is a little complication.
Oh, I thought there would be.
This fellow Lambert is like a mother with a child over this car. He fixes it to a lamppost every night with 2 big padlocks and a double chain. Wonder he doesn't put a nappy on it, too.
Well, what do we do? Take the lamppost as well as the car?
Well, before I tell you, are you in with me?
All right, Pike. I'm in.
Then listen to what I tell you.
In the early hours of the following morning, the Pike and his assistant went along to Graysdyke Crescent, and there, sure enough, chained to the lamppost outside number 14, was a fine new motor car, its cellulose and chromium work glinting invitingly under the lamplight.
Smash on it, eh? What did I tell you? We can clean up 450 on this, and all we've got to do is to remove the back wheel, which is chained to the lamppost. We put on the spare and we're away.
Okay, Pike. Let's get cracking.
The offending wheel was removed from the axle and left, still chained, to the lamppost. And by the light of the helpful rays from above, the spare wheel was bolted on, the tools were replaced in the boot, and the 2 men climbed into the car.
I hope that ignition key of yours works, Pike.
Of course it works. I tried it out last night.
Ah, good for you.
And here we go. I told you it was going to be easy, didn't I, Ed?
It's money for old rope. You're a good one, you are, Pike. Just let me know when you need any more help. I'm your man.
Walter Pievsky pulled his tartan scarf snugly around his throat and agreed that he would certainly keep his assistant in mind. The car itself was taken to a garage, where its numbers and appearance were carefully changed and, in due course, found its way by devious routes back to the open market. The Pike, of course, had to split the profits, which hurt him, so on his next job, he decided to work alone. And it was the next job which put him on the long, long walk which was to finish on the scaffold.
Now, what's the number of that garage? Here it is, I've got it. If this works, Park, my lad, you're in the money. But it all depends on how good I can sound on the phone. I'll copy my father's voice, rest his soul. Here we go.
Breen's Motors, good evening.
Hello? Brins?
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
My name is Maurice Bluet of 17 Granford Court.
Oh, yes, sir, I know. The big block of flats in Collerton Drive.
That's right. I am staying here with a friend, Major General Lewis.
Oh, yes, sir.
He tells me that you have a new Rolls Coupe in your showroom.
Yes, sir, indeed we have.
Yes, well, I'm anxious to take such a car back to the continent with me, but time is pressing.
Are you at 17 Granford Court now, sir?
Yes, if someone could bring round the car, I should like to see it.
Right, I'll be with you in a quarter of an hour, sir.
Are you sure that is not too much trouble?
Oh, no trouble at all, sir. Thank you very much for ringing.
Thank you. I shall be waiting for you.
15 minutes later, the car drove up to the block of flats. The driver salesman got out and went inside. Entering the lift, he went up to the 3rd floor and knocked on the door of number 17. Needless to say, the occupier had never heard of either Maurice Bluet or Major General Lewis. But while the questions and explanations sorted themselves out, Walter Pievsky was already driving the luxury car toward the garage where practiced hands were waiting to completely change its identity. First, what the Pike did not know was that he had provided the police with a vital clue that was to lead him first to prison and then, by reason of the tartan scarf, to the gallows. But the scarf was yet to earn its place, of course, among these strange exhibits here in the Black Museum.
In just a moment, we will continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. And now we continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
We return to Walter Piewski, known as the Pike, elated at the success of his confident scar trick. He made a handsome profit on the rolls, and despite the fact that the police subsequently traced it, they never traced the theft back to the Pike, not until he tried the same operation again. Certainly he changed the district, but, as is so often the case with a regular criminal, he develops regular habits, and the routine served up to the local garage was almost exactly as before.
Yes, I'm staying with Sir Leslie, and he tells me you've got that straight 8 in the showroom. I'm most anxious to take a car back to the continent with me, but time is pressing, and you see...
Delighted to bring the car round to you right away, sir, if that's convenient.
If you're sure that it's not too much trouble.
No trouble at all, sir. I'll be with you in 10 minutes.
Oh, that is most kind. Thank you. Excellent.
But you wouldn't think it was so excellent from your point of view if you knew what was happening at the garage, Pike.
Hello, give me the police. Is that Scotland Yard?
Yes, information room.
Listen, my name is Slater. I run a garage, Carlsbrook Street, North 1.
Yes, sir.
A few weeks ago, the local police warned me about a car thief who worked a telephone trick, asking salesmen to take cars round to fake addresses for inspection.
He just rung you, has he, Mr. Slater?
Yeah. It might be him, or it might be genuine. But he asked me to take a car round to 21 Golston Court, Catamar Street.
On the advice of Scotland Yard, Mr. Slater took the car to Golston Court. To make it easier for the thief, he left the doors unlocked and went into the building. When he was safely inside, the Pike left his telephone box and walked smartly over to the waiting motor. There were just 2 things he didn't know. First, an ignition wire had been snipped, and second, he was being watched. She'll never start until that broken wire is mended, Pike. You're wasting your time. You're going to waste a lot more time, too. 7 years, to be exact.
Hello, sir. You having a bit of starting trouble?
Oh, hello, officer. Yes, I don't know what's happened here.
I'm used to this sort of thing, so's the other constable here.
Oh, there's 2 of you.
There's a lot more at the end of the road. Suppose you hop out of that and let us see whether we can't get the car going for you.
No, I can manage.
All the same, you might let us have a go for you.
Okay.
That's the idea. Are you the owner of this car? Hold him, George. He's got a knuckle there, sir.
Let me go, you swamp!
No, you don't.
Oh, God. Put the bracelets on him, quick. You all right, 71?
Oh.
Well, how is he? Looks as if his jaw's broken, Inspector. Right. Take this man to the station. What's his name?
I'm talking.
Very well. I'm charging you with grievous bodily harm and resisting arrest for the attempted theft of this vehicle. There may be further charges.
There were further charges, including the theft of the big rolls. Walter Piewski, alias the Pike, had played the same game once too often, and a search of his flat in the East End produced more evidence of his varied career in crime. The police had been waiting for him to make his first mistake. This time he'd done it. At the Old Bailey, he pleaded guilty to over 100 crimes, and there were hundreds more with which he was never charged. He was sent to prison for 7 years, and immediately on his reception, his personal belongings were entered in the property book, and he was wearing the tartan scarf, which later was to hang him.
Serviette, grey, 7.5. Collar, 16, brown. One scarf, red background, green and blue stripes, white and yellow overcheck.
The Cairn Stewart.
How do you know that, Piewski?
The fellow I bought it from in Petticoat Lane told me.
I'll take his word for it. Oh, there's a small tear, 5 inches from one corner. Been roughly patched. Better put that down.
Don't worry, boys. I won't accuse you of doing it.
Don't you worry. I'll be retired by then. 1 pair leather gloves, size 8. 1 pair black socks, 10. Brown shoes, neat.
The tartan scarf had been duly entered, and little did the retiring prison officer dream that his hastily scribbled details were to be subsequently brought up as key evidence in a murder trial. But Piewski signed the list of his personal property, and for the next 7 years he was a guest of His Majesty's government in the most famous prison in England, Dartmoor. But in 1946, justice had run its course. The Pike was given back his personal property, which included the tartan scarf, of course, all duly signed for, and so he was released upon a battle-scarred London. Time passed, and he added to his lawful wages by meager pickings from the black market, and more time passed, until one day the inspiration came to him like a bolt from the blue. He mulled it over in his mind. He carried out the research, and not until the plans were cut and dry did he put Ed Javison in the picture.
This is it. This is going to be the clean-up, Eddie.
Yeah, what is it, Pike?
We're going to stick up a post office van, see?
A post office van?
I've been standing in for a chap selling papers right outside a big post office in the West End. Every night I watch the mailbags coming out and going into the vans around 6 o'clock. Well, the other night I hired a car and followed one. It cut through Braston Mews to Park Lane.
Did you say you hired a car?
Yes, what about it?
Never mind. Go on.
Well, I had it out 3 nights, and I found the vans don't change their route. It's the Mews every time. Cuts off a bit of traffic, you see?
Yeah, go on.
Now, the Mews are very dark. Badly bombed and no residents that I could see.
Yeah, I'll get it, yeah.
All we have to do is get a fast car and wait there until the last van comes through.
Yeah, how many are there?
Only 2. We draw our car out in the path of the second one, as if we were going to back into the garage, see?
Yeah.
The van stops.
Yeah.
We fix the 2 men in it, fill up our car from the back, and bring the stuff back here to sort.
To sort? Oh, I like that. Yes. Here we can bring it through the back way. When do we do it?
Well, I think our most profitable haul will be tonight, Friday.
But what about a car?
Oh, you can leave that to me.
And Walter Piewski ran true to form. He wanted a fast car in a hurry. He applied the methods he knew. He worked the telephone trick on a young and trusting motor salesman who duly delivered a shining, high-powered limousine to a block of flats. As he disappeared into the entrance full of expectation, the Pike drove off rapidly to Braston Mews, where his partner was waiting for him. The timing was perfect. As the car stopped, the first post office van was already approaching.
Here, keep your head down, Ed. Here it comes. The second one won't be more than a minute or so behind. We must turn the car broadside onto it.
How did you get this batter?
I'll tell you later. It's hand-picked, see? Plenty of room in the back for the luggage. There we are. Nothing can get by now.
What happens if something tries to get through before the van arrives?
Well, we make way for it. It can come back another night if necessary. Here, what's this?
It's the van. We're going to be all right.
And nobody about. Couldn't be better. Now, get out.
Yeah?
Keep your chin tucked into your scarf like me.
Righto.
Pretend to be pushing the car.
Right.
What's up, Compton?
Oh, yes.
Afraid so. Could you give us a push?
Sorry, mustn't leave the van.
Oh. Well, look, in that case, I wonder if you'd like to earn yourselves 10 bob, eh? If you could ring this number for us when you get to your own destination, it's my garage.
I'd log 'em and send a breakdown for you, eh?
That's the idea.
Oh, don't mind doing that for you. I'll do it for nothing.
Oh, thanks, Sam. You're very kind. If you got a pencil, I'll jot down my name. It's rather a difficult one.
Here, here's a pencil.
Help! Dirty thieves! Oh,
That's got the both of them.
Good. We'll start getting the bags out, quick.
No, you don't.
I'll set you up, you snivelling idiot.
I'm choking. This scarf's choking me.
Here, quick with the bags, Ed.
Oh, no, here they come. I'm going. You'll swing for it. Start getting the stuff in the car.
Okay.
Oh, I reckon that's about as much as we can take. Here. Oh, what's happened to the driver?
Oh, don't worry about him. Get moving.
Here, look at his tongue. His eyes. You've killed him.
Stop talking. Get on with the job.
There's a car coming. They've got us in their headlights. It's the cops.
Well, let's get out of here. Oh, tight on the corner.
Keep going, they're after us. Oh, watch the traffic lights. They're red. Something's coming.
Got through.
Oh, I thought we'd had it. Oh, the police car's held up by the other car.
Well, get away, Ed. We're going to make it.
Put them in! Slow up, we can't get round!
Ed Javison died in that crash, so mutilated that his body could not be identified. By some miracle, the Pike escaped and staggered away into the shadows. But his tartan scarf was still round the throat of his victim, lying in the mews. Now let Superintendent Brandreth take up the story of the hunt.
Well, the hunt was soon over. In fact, as soon as the car was reported stolen, I had a call from one of my inspectors.
I thought you'd like to see this.
What is it, Harrison? Oh, stolen car. Well?
Well, I've checked with criminal records, sir. There was something familiar about the method. Calling up a garage and getting the salesman to deliver the car to a block of flats. Now, here's the list of men who practiced that. Now, these two are inside at present.
Yes.
This one's going straight. Well, he's out of London anyway.
That leaves this one, Walter Pievsky.
Yes, sir. The Pike.
Know where to find him?
And he's sharing a place with a man named Javison in the East End.
Right. Bring him in.
Yes, sir.
But before the Pike was picked up for questioning about the car, his scarf was...
The car was immediately recognized as the one which we believe Pievsky had stolen. In theory, the evidence against him was already piling up. If he was the car thief, he was probably the murderer as well. But I needed that extra piece of evidence. I called for everything that was known about him, including the list of his personal property which he had signed in prison. It was a shot in the dark, but it yielded results.
There's no doubt about the scarf being his property, Superintendent, even to the patch on it.
Within 24 hours, the Pike was caught. Still dazed by the car crash, he offered no resistance. In due course, he was convicted of the murder of William Price, the driver of the post office van. And at 8 o'clock, one cold morning in February, he was hanged. All because of this tartan scarf, which has earned its place today in the Black Museum.
Orson Welles will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Orson Welles.
Under English law, there are no degrees of murder, and the death sentence has to be pronounced on a man or woman convicted of the crime. Recommendations to mercy by the jury are always carefully considered. But in the case of Walter H. Pievsky, no such recommendation was made. The evidence against him was unshakable, and on the eve of his execution he reproached himself bitterly Not for the death of his victim, or even his unfortunate partner, but for two other reasons. The supreme crime of murder had brought him no profit, and as his last hour approached, he became increasingly angry at his own forgetfulness. Oh yes, they usually overlook something. And that's why the faded piece of tartan has earned its place here among the other exhibits in the Black Museum. Now, until we meet again in the same place for another story about the Black Museum, I remain as always obediently yours.
The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles, is presented by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Radio Attractions, with original music composed and conducted by Sidney Torch, produced by Harry Allen Towers.